Tesla Model 3, Nissan Leaf, Elon Musk, and even Trump, a perfect recipe for the beautiful recap of the electric car news week here at E4 Electric, your #1 source for what's happening now in the world of electric cars. Guys, this has been a busy week. We're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about all the great news that we have seen and heard and talked about this week, and we're going to start right now. I am very excited. First of all, huge congratulations to the chat room and this channel regular viewer, Tesla P85D, who will have to change his username to Tesla 100D. He just bought himself a brand new Model S and canceled his Model 3 reservation. So congratulations. Hope you enjoy it. I know it's your third day, but I hope you give us more updates on what is happening with you, my man. Welcome to the channel and to the recap. Guys, we have so many news. And by the way, this kind of starts the conversation we had earlier in the week. I just had it with my girlfriend before this. You know, Model S versus Model 3. A lot of people are buying Model 3s and saying that they're switching from their Model S cars. Now, that's good, but it's a little weird to me. I think there's still some sort of a misunderstanding that Model 3 is a third version of Tesla cars, which I think they've been trying to fight for a while. But I gotta tell you, Model 3 is definitely a downgrade from the Model S. Model S is by far a better car in almost every single way. Don't forget that all of the equipment, all of the hardware, all the technology that you see in Model 3 is obviously in the Model S and a Model X. I actually am driving Model X right now. That's a loaner from the showroom, from the service center. I love that car. The doors open by themselves. I literally didn't have to touch a door handle once versus Model 3 door handles that I actually don't really like that much. But so I don't know how we got into this discussion at all. But I just wanted to start the show with that. But congratulations to one of the regulars. And I see so many of the regulars in the chat room. Saga Foda from Germany. Craig just saying hello. Vid from Czech Republic. Anton from Sweden. AV Kiwi 2 year. From Monterey, California, just down the street. Ben from Canada. Dennis from Montreal. And so many regulars, I can't even name them. Thanks for joining me, guys. All right, let's get into this. Now, I'm just gonna go kind of in a chronological order. As you can see, this is the picture was taken, and you can find it in the Tesla Owners LA Facebook group. That's where it was posted. Apparently, Franz himself, the head designer of Tesla, is driving that Tesla to the Hawthorne, always have frown pronouncing that, Hawthorne, California. That's where SpaceX and design studios are, to supercharge it. But apparently, as you can see, this looks like a performance version of the Model 3, which actually sparked a lot of speculation whether or not that's coming out sooner rather than later. And that kind of goes along with all the news we've been hearing that Tesla is just about to start releasing the $35,000 version of the Model 3. Now you can see it in the configuration, design UI at tesla.com. It just says basically early 2018 now, and we thought that won't really happen until the summer. So it looks like in the next month or two, we should expect 35,000 long-awaited and anticipated version of Model 3 to, you know, for the first for those of us who are ready to configure that one, we'll be able to do that. And it looks like a picture leaked of the dual motor Tesla Model 3, and they're now saying it's going to be available in spring, and I know a lot of people are waiting for that as well. So it looks like Tesla are going through their reservations pretty quickly, which kind of also sparked a bit of a debate about, you know, are they selling them too quick? A lot of, meaning like, are a lot of people are passing on configuring the Model 3? Are they kind of leaving? Are they putting their reservations on hold? They only want to buy a $35,000 version. So there's a lot of back and forth about this. It's all speculation, but kind of exciting discussion. For my taste, I believe just a lot of people have reserved this car because they want a $35,000 electric car. And with California incentives and incentives around the world, you can get it for, well, pretty much under 30. So, and I think that's what people are now. Of course, I was just talking about it yesterday, how when a lot of people who want to have a 35 or under $1,000 car can't really afford it, and not in terms of the car, but in terms of most of them live in apartment complexes and condos where there's just no chargers, and the only way to live comfortably and without any hassle is to charge your car at home overnight, going to superchargers or charging at work or charging in the stores. It is possible. A lot of people do it. But nevertheless, this is so inconvenient that a lot of people would rather continue driving their gas cars and wait for infrastructure to catch up. So I'm a little, I was talking how I'm a little bit worried about once Tesla is making 20,000 Model 3s per month. Who will they be selling it for if a lot of people are saying, listen, I'd love to have this car, but I don't have it. I can charge it at home. So I think it's might become a problem. We had a long conversations in the comment section on Facebook and here at YouTube. So that was interesting. I'd like to continue that. So let's see. I'm gonna look in the chat room. REP says 3-door handles are to keep air design and save cost over moving handles. Absolutely. No, listen. Model 3 is a great car. It is probably the best car for the money. I'm just saying it's no Model S. And including everything, including door handles. That's just a great example. Let's see. In the chat room, hi from Satvir says, hi from Los Angeles. How are you? Hope your Sunday is going well. Nigel says, good evening, California from Ireland. Bought 2 new Tesla S this week, black and white, and no Model 3 yet available. Come on, Hot Wheels, get the finger out. Nigel, did you buy 2 Teslas this weekend? Am I understanding this right? If so, congratulations twice. Let's see. Anything but via motors. The truck does 30 miles. Okay, you guys are talking about something else. I'm just going to move on to the next news. And by the way, the next news on my list is this, which is you guys right here. 10,000 subscribers in this community. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I love this community. You guys, I spent literally an hour and a half last night, even though it was Saturday night. That's why I'm a little underslept right now. Just going through the comment section that, we got some really good discussion going. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your guys' support. So another news that came out this week was really interesting about this guy right here. Elon Musk, as you know, CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, Boring Company, and so forth. Now, there are some, not rumors, but maybe even a bit of a kind of an understanding that Elon Musk's vision was his master plan to bring the affordable car, which is a Model 3, to the masses. And after that, really, it looked like he might be moving on to kind of other things, like SpaceX is his thing now. Now, the Tesla board has made him an offer, which I'm assuming he can refuse. They obviously wanted him to stay the CEO. His vision is just as important as Steve Jobs' vision was for Apple. And here's what they're offering. What they're offering might make him by far the richest man in the world, even if you don't consider that SpaceX is going to do well and he owns like half of that and the Boring Company. We're just talking about from Tesla stock alone. Now, he owns about 20% of the company right now. Now, he's not collecting any salary right now, and he will not get paid by a salary moving forward either. But here's what he's going to do. If he gets the market cap, so basically what the company is worth, over 100 million. Right now, it's about around 60. Over 100 million, he will trigger his first bonus, and then after that, with every 5 billion, sorry, did I say million? Billion. 5 million, is it 5? No, 50. Every 50 billion growth, he will get an extra percent of the company, all the way to 12%, all the way if he takes it to over $650 billion in 10 years, which a lot of us believe that is very possible. With the way Tesla is going, with their cars, with their supercharging network, don't forget, they have Solar City. They have solar products that they haven't done anything with. Imagine them installing solar roofs and power packs all over the world. And they have residential, and now, as you can see, they're dealing with governments and providing humongous battery farms for just an infrastructure. So this company, I would not be surprised if it goes in 10 years, it becomes one of the largest companies in the United States. I believe that right now, not in 10 years, but right now, there are only 3. It's Apple, Alphabet, which is a parent company of Google, and of course Amazon. But I think Tesla will be right up there. But nevertheless, if that happens, I believe he's going to be worth over $200 billion. Just in comparison, I know I got it wrong. I thought Microsoft former CEO Bill Gates was the richest man. I believe it's the Amazon CEO now is the Bezos is the richest man. But nevertheless, he will bypass all of them if this happens. So that was pretty exciting news, because it looks like he's going to be staying and in charge of Tesla, and it's just exciting to see what his next vision is, because I'm not really sure if I know. I know Model Y and a pickup truck, but you know that those are obvious things. I want to know what he's got in store for us, just because it's going to be really exciting. Let's see. REP in the chat room shows more existing S and X owners want low range because they already have an S and an X with a range. 3 is their second car. So I have 2 Model S's, and my 60 regular 60 has what, 100, realistically 170, 180 mile range. I never need that much, and whenever I travel, I use superchargers, no problem, because they're now not that full and I don't have to stand in line. So I'm using superchargers again for travel. So to be honest with you, even with that range is not a problem. That's why I think the Nissan Leaf is actually pretty doable car, pretty acceptable new range. So you know, and don't forget the shortest range for the Model 3 right now is 220 miles. That's more than a 60, and even my other 70D, it's kind of what my 70D is. So even the shorter range is pretty long. I think it's a Model 3 is a second car. It's just, again, that could be a commuter car. Like for my girlfriend, we're thinking about just getting her a commuter car, which would be Model 3, which, you know, she can just drive to work and back. But when, you know, we're together going out and stuff like that, it's our car. And yeah, we definitely, I'd rather be in a Model S if I can still afford it. So I would prefer that. Donald Noel in the chat room says, I think you're right on with problems with charging for Model 3 owners living in apartments. Many may have jumped in without really thinking it through. I believe you're right on both counts. I believe that you're right, that I'm right. I guess what I'm saying. But no, listen, in reality, I told you guys about my personal story, which is not just personal story. I'm here in Silicon Valley. We have the highest, I know somebody in the comment section called me out and said that I'm not really living in reality, you know, this is not how it is in the rest of the world. Well, maybe, but this is where the highest concentration of Tesla owners is. And we here usually kind of cutting edge on infrastructure for technology, right? Because this is where all the headquarters of all major tech companies are, except for like Microsoft and Amazon, but everybody else is here. So no, I think we are sort of the, and again, I'm not trying to like brag or whatever. I'm just saying simply, I just happen to live here, but this happened to have, to be the area where we kind of, everything else around is going to be modeled after what we have here. You know, we were the first ones to get the superchargers. We were the first ones to get Teslas, right, when they roll it out. So I'm not, you know, I'm just saying what it is in reality. So yeah, you know, and so here I started looking for a new apartment about half a year ago, and I couldn't find one because not a single apartment complex here, including a brand new ones that they just built, have the charging stations. I mean the dedicated charging stations. Sometimes they go like, oh yeah, we have a charging station, and you show up, it's like 2 charging stations up front, so not even your spot, not covered or anything, but it's first come, first serve. But who wants to gamble with whether or not you're going to be able to get to work in your electric car the next morning, whether or not you're going to play, what do you call it, musical chairs with electric car stations? So you need to have a dedicated one. So unfortunately, even here in the Silicon Valley, where we technically should be ahead of everybody, we don't have that. You know, I've looked high and low and I couldn't find it. Even now, I see people having trouble with it. And I've given an example, I think a couple of days ago, that my girlfriend had to stay, I believe, closer to Oakland here for a few days because the company was doing training for her and she had to stay at a hotel. And she had to go and supercharge, look for the supercharger, drive there. There was a line on one of them. So she kind of either had to wait and go to another one, and then she had to sit there and charge. You know, she spent an hour and a half to charge her car, where you know how much we people who charge at home spend? About 3 seconds to plug it in and then take it out. And so there's a big difference. I think it's going to be a problem, guys. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I think it's kind of, it's an opinion based on reality even here in Silicon Valley. So So that's what my thing about it is, and I'm definitely concerned about that. REP in the chat room says laws will start to pass requiring buildings to put in chargers. Did California start to require solar and charging in new homes in garages? I don't think so. I don't think we're requiring anything. I believe there might be a law, and people are still kind of debating it. Somebody told me that on my Facebook page last night, that there is a law that HOAs cannot prohibit you from installing a charging station in your home, but there are other limitations, and again, a lot of people rent, so it's really also up to your landlord, or that's also needs to figure out with HOA, and a lot of people just don't want to don't want to do it. Let's see. Will Model Y have 7 seats? I doubt it. It's a smaller car. It's going to be based on Model 3. I think it's just going to have 5 seats. That's my opinion, but this is, again, a bit of a speculation. Chris in the chat room says, I think they need to commit to people interested to buying a Tesla that if new battery technology comes out, they will be able to change their own for them, like solid state batteries. So, you know, this is something that I've been kind of coming around. I think the way to solve the infrastructure problem of charging, what we just talked about, and at the same time give everybody sort of a peace of mind about the battery, because the technology is moving so fast, is to have a swappable battery. You know, and a couple of companies right now are doing that. You know, Renault Zoe had it for years now. Not only you can swap it out for a better battery, or let's say a solid state batteries come on the market, you can swap it for that, but you can lease your battery. It's kind of a 2 separate deals, right? So, you know, like gas is a separate deal from the actual car. So I feel like the energy source still should be a separate deal, even in electric cars. If this is a leased battery, you don't have to worry about it. You can update, downgrade, you don't have to worry about the degradation of the battery, and you don't have to worry about the technology. People are doing it now. I know Tesla doubled down on not having the technology, because in Model 3 you can't even do it. The battery is way up in there. You kind of could do it with the Model S and Model X, but the Model 3 kind of, that's not going to happen. I wonder if it might bite them in the butt at some point. Do you think 50 DC is okay for Model 3? How many miles would you get on 30 minutes charge for Model 3? So don't forget, just the current is not, so there's amperage and there's voltage, and it's kind of, they have to work together there. So you got to give me all the specs, but you know, I think you can find it. There are calculators for that out there. Just Google it, and I think you will get a better idea than just kind of me guessing here on the air. So I don't want to give you a wrong answer. I'm sorry. Let's see, saw Model 3 yesterday heading towards San Diego. Absolutely, I see those trucks leaving every day on 101. Here, Tom in the chat room says, Alex, have you heard any ramblings about any new referral program after January 31st? I have not, and I would be surprised if they do it. Actually, I was surprised that they did it for the last year. Why do they need referrals? I mean, they're doing pretty well. You know, it's still like 3 or 4 months line to, I think, the waiting list right now on the Model 3 and, oh, I'm sorry, Model S and Model X. I know it was because of the scare with a $7,500 tax rebate, but nevertheless, I'm not really sure why they have a referral program at this point. I expect it to end and just be dead. And by the way, I absolutely hated it in the last 3 years. I do not understand. I thought the prices were way off. They weren't really better on some levels. Like, for example, level 5 was to go to the event. Well, I wanted to go to cover it for you guys, but the regular person who has to spend a grand or two on travel, take time off to do this on Thursday, I don't see how it's a reward. I mean, you know, I would rather get a higher price reward from Tesla rather than the experience, as much as some people do prefer the experience. But I'm just saying there was no choice, and that was the highest reward. Let's see. Play 69 Station says it may take longer for Tesla to grow if they take that long to deliver cars. Wish I could just walk in and buy a car. Don't like the waiting. Well, I mean, it's also hype, right? I mean, first of all, it's a car that's in demand, and that's what happens. You have to wait, and a lot of people are happy to wait. And there's also something that comes with it, right? Like, well, I have a car that you can't just walk into the store and buy. I think some people kind of get off on that, but you're right. I mean, but at some point you would be able to. Like right now, you can walk into almost any showroom and get yourself a demo car, or they call it an inventory car. And I think there are some times when a customer cancels the order, but they still kind of made the car. You can get that right now. But listen, you know, it's good for Tesla. That's the only way they can survive, obviously, if they have a huge demand that's larger than supply at this point. But yeah, everybody wishes they could do that, but that's what it is right now. Tom says, smart move by the board of directors of Tesla, in my opinion, with this compensation plan. Absolutely. I mean, it keeps him motivated and it keeps him in charge of the company. I think that's what they're really trying to accomplish with that. Arvin in the chat room says, I live in an apartment complex and it's not practical right now. So he's sticking with his Prius. This is exactly what I think will be happening to a lot of people who want a Model 3, but it's just not practical. Let's see, Nigel says he's playing musical chairs in Ireland because of 2 connections max possible on most chargers. There you go. The Arcana chat room says, clearly we have a disconnect between what society currently needs and what is being provided. Laws have to change quickly because it will be massive issue. You know, it's not just about laws. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that supply and demand haven't played its role in it, right? I mean, wouldn't you want Tesla owners as your tenants? You know, and for that, you kind of have to provide. My manager of my apartment complex that's smaller, that was the reason he put a Tesla charger in here, because guess what? I've been here for 5 years and I can't even leave, really. So that was a smart move for $2,000 investment that they put into it. So I think more people, I don't know why. I really don't. I thought it was economics. I don't even think the government needs to butt in here, but obviously I'm wrong. Donald Noel says, doesn't the Model 3 have some solar sensors as well as cameras? And radar. So sonar, yeah, oh, you know, kind of stopped me with that. I know it does not have a LiDAR, but it does have a radar. But I mean, yeah, it has some sonar. Yeah, I think the answer is yes. I had read an article a long time ago that using sonar along with radar helped identify solid objects that are not moving. You know, radar can identify that objects perfectly fine. Now, okay, I'll jump to that story. All right, I'll play along, guys. By the way, I'm sorry, you guys are typing so much. I'm going to have to skip some of the things because of a couple of reasons. One is we have too many stories to talk about, so I apologize if I can't get to your comment. Secondly, I'm losing my voice. I know that for sure. I have like a steamer literally down below to steam my voice like Mariah Carey style, and I've been drinking tea all day long today. It's just on Saturday night when I go out to a lounge at a concert, you know, I have to talk so much, and apparently my vocal cord muscles are like a 5-month-old kitten, really. So it goes really quick, you know. So all right, so let me move on to this story, guys. So this is a story that at first I thought was just about a stupid driver, but this story was more than that. I realized is so quick recap. Tesla Model S was driving down the freeway. There was an accident ahead of them. There was a fire truck that was parked in that lane, kind of blocking the accident off. And what happened was and we're assuming that Tesla had an autopilot engaged. Okay, if it didn't, then the question was about, you know, whether the crash avoidance system was on, which is an option to turn it off. But let's assume it was on, and it just smashed into the truck at what was reportedly at 65 miles an hour. A lot of you guys in the chat room and in the comment section says that it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's more 40 miles an hour. But I have to say, you know, Tesla crumble zone, which is the front, is really, really good because you don't have to deal with a gas engine. So to me, this actually looks pretty doable at 65 miles an hour. The guy walked away, but again, Tesla is a pretty safe car. So I'm going to stick with 65 miles an hour until they dispute that. But so the question was, okay, besides the guy not paying attention and not misunderstanding what Autopilot is, which is an assistant, not a way to take over. And by the way, there was a pilot who commented today, I believe, on Facebook saying, or no, on the YouTube saying that, you know, even Autopilot on the plane doesn't do everything. It still is just an assistant. That aside, here's the problem. Did the Tesla system that was engaged, we're going to assume that, see the fire truck? And if it didn't, why not? Now, original theory was, listen, whether it's a radar or a LiDAR or sonar sensor or whatever, I'm gonna assume that it did see the truck. It's too big now to see it, right? The problem is from what I understand and from what people are saying, that this technology made so that because you're moving and there are a lot of stationary objects, there's a sort of threshold for the technology to ignore a lot of stationary objects, because there are bridges, buildings, parked cars, parked crap, people, whatever, it's, food trucks, kiosks, and so forth. So you kind of have to have a pretty high sensitivity to that, because if a car makes a mistake and believes something is a car and just slams on the brake in the middle of the road, mistaking it, the chances for an accident are much higher. So it kind of has to ignore a lot of those. Now, that's where the question was raised, where that line is, and is this a problem? I believe Gene in the chat room yesterday, I misread his comment. I don't know if he's in the chat room right now. Gene, let me know. But apologies. Apparently, your wife was actually had in a car accident. I hope she's okay. But I guess that very similar thing happened to her. I would love to hear more, of course, in your experience. But and again, I hope she's okay. I'm sorry it happened. So that's a big question beyond this accident, beyond whatever the technology of Tesla is, or whatever this driver was doing. The question is, will this technology need to go a little bit further as far as figuring out what stationary objects they need to worry about, what is not. Now, I personally think that it's not that big of a deal to understand what your path is, right? And then figure out if something stationary is in that path. So I was kind of 50-50. I wasn't really sure what was happening. Now, apparently, a relative or a friend of that driver has posted on Reddit with an explanation. I'm going to take it with a grain of salt because this is not a fact. This is just, that's almost a hearsay. But the explanation made sense. That's why I'm going to tell you what it is. So apparently, this Tesla was an autopilot, and it was following a pickup truck, a large pickup truck. So really, what this Tesla saw was the pickup truck in front of it. And it was too big to see the fire truck ahead of it, which I kind of believe, because I mean, and again, this goes to the technology. I can understand that if you can't see it with your eyes, cameras can't see it, and you can't send a signal to bounce it off of the truck. So it didn't see it, and then the truck saw it, and swerved the last second, right? So the truck swerves the last second. Tesla Autopilot starts, sees the truck, but it's too late because now it's right in front of it and it smashes against it. Now, this sounds actually reasonable. This sounds like, yeah, the technology didn't fail. It just was an unfortunate accident, and even a regular person would not have been able to do a better job because, again, you're locked in a car in front of you. You can't see or even sense the truck ahead of you, and if the car swerves and something's in front of you and you're boom full speed, you're gonna smash into it. So maybe he was going 70 or 80, and then it tried to brake and it slowed it down to 65 or maybe a little bit less. But I kind of starting to buy that theory. That at least makes sense to me. We'll see what happens. They're going to be NTSB investigating it, so we will have a full report about it. So let's see. Pat in the chat room says, think Watson computer power to require every single non-moving object. It will make massive CPU power to do it. Well, so here's the thing, and as you know, guys, I went to see a CES, and there was a lot of presentations. NVIDIA had a huge presentation, and I thought it was going to be all about the gaming, right? Just a virtual reality. More than half of NVIDIA presentation was about self-driving cars and GPU computing. So CPU is not really what's used for calculating all of that. It's usually GPU, the graphics computer that does that. And they're now, I know Tesla's working on it, but now NVIDIA announced that they're also going to be working on the chip that's specifically designed to deal with self-driving cars, autonomous driving. So actually, they're able to calculate everything pretty quick. And again, identifying objects is really not that big of a deal for them, and processing it is not that. Now, once we're going to start using lidars and trying to figure out which way people are facing and where they're going, everything's going to become a little bit more complicated. It's going to be more in 3D. The maps are going to be 3D. We're going to have the micro lane maps, micro mapping with lanes. I think it's going to get more complicated, but the computers are going to start catching up, and I think they're kind of there now. So NVIDIA leading the way, Tesla's working on their chips. So I don't think that's a problem. I don't think it's a calculation problem. I think it's just sometimes, I mean, until we have smart cities where trucks and cars and infrastructure can talk to each other directly, I think these accidents can still be unavoidable unless the truck in front of you also has an autopilot and can see it, because obviously that driver wasn't paying attention if you swerved last second, right? So that's where okay. Eco Kids in the chat room says Autopilot only works slightly above speed limit. Yeah, I think it's at least 20. So yeah, you can, I think, have it even at 80 miles an hour, I think. Because don't forget, like in California, our highest speed limit is on Highway 5, I believe, at 70 miles. So, you know, it would still work, I think, at 80 for sure. But for some roads, 80 is insane, right? So it works above the speed limit. Unless, and you know, maybe, okay, you know what, this is something I don't know. So let me know. Is the autopilot set at a certain miles per hour above the speed limit that the autopilot sees for that road? I'm going to check on that, or maybe you guys can. You guys sometimes are just smarter than me, or know more than me. So go ahead and put it in the chat room in the comment section. We're going to figure it out right now as a community. That's why I love this, guys. This is awesome. Will the issue also be that these safety features should not be able to be turned off if the car comes equipped with them, says DRK? Well, yeah, that's, you know what, this is a philosophical question. I'm gonna have to think about it, because if you paid for it, you should be able not to use it, right? So, but at the same time, if you have it, wouldn't it be better for everyone's safety to have it on? Yeah, man, I don't know. We're gonna have to have some philosophical conversation about it, but I don't know the answer for that. But good point. Also, DRK says we also need a nationwide Wi-Fi system for cars and emergency vehicles so that a signal is sent out to all cars on the road. So that's exactly what smart cities are. And I have to say, by being at CES, this is what I saw. Smart cities literally had its own hall where all of those technologies, and a lot of them were also in the automotive main hall, the north hall of the convention center. This is where everything's moving. They don't really have a standard or just general idea or like a precise idea what that connectivity is going to be, but it's definitely moving to the car, not just being autonomous on its own. It's going to have autonomous driving, but it's going to communicate with the infrastructure, because that's the way to have the most safe and reliable driving. I got to tell you, safety has been underlined by every single CEO, every single executive talking about self-driving cars. They weren't necessarily having a, hey, this is a great thing to do, it's going to be awesome, we're going to be able to work and watch movies in cars. That was secondary to safety. Safety has been outlined as #1 goal for autonomous driving, which this is the first time I kind of hearing it as a priority versus, hey, it's a cool toy for all of our future drivers. So that's absolutely correct. And of course, you know, there is an onboard there's logging that Tesla has. So I'm sure as the investigation moves forward, we're going to find out more about what really happened, because there is data. Donald Noel says the autopilot limit on speed was lifted a few months ago. At least I read something that indicated that. Okay, we'll have more about it. Governments need to legislate V2V technology. Absolutely, this is something that government needs to jump in, and I think they have been. They've been starting to regulate the autonomous driving, creating autonomous driving laws, I believe so. But listen, they're always going to be behind. We just need to push them forward, obviously. You can set the speed limit yourself for the road, but the car does read the signs and allows you to set a range or amount. Right, but the question is there a limit to what speed the autopilot is going to be working on? For example, can we set it to 150 miles, or is it going to say, hey, that's way higher than the speed limit, I want nothing to do with it? That's the question at hand right now. Alan Brown in the chat room says cars can talk to each other with their signal lights, just like drivers do now, only much better, faster, and of course, listen, computers are going to be able to do all of this driving thing much better than us, right? Because they are not going to be on their iPhones, just because of that. David says Tesla has likely already reviewed all the data speed. Absolutely, I believe Tesla already reviewed it, but at the same time, there are also reports, police reports, witness reports. They're going to have to investigate the crash, crumble thing here, all this mess, and determine what speed it was going on, because that's they determine it by looking at the how the car got damaged. So all of that is going to take a few months, and then we're going to know the answer, and then we're going to jump back into this conversation. Okay, guys, I should probably mention, not probably, I should mention that this video and this channel is sponsored by Evanex, the aftermarket accessories for Tesla. If you are interested, and you know, I have a few myself on both of my Teslas, you can grab a discount code that they've created specifically for this community, and it's in the description of this video. By the way, you guys are also asking some of the t-shirts that I wear, some like funny I think they're funny t-shirts that I wear sometimes on my show. You can also buy them from a link in the description of this video. I designed them myself, so you are welcome to buy them as well. I think they're funny. All right, let's move on. We have not even touched most of the news, but all right, guys, Donald Trump. Tesla and Donald Trump and electric cars all together. Now, let me emphasize one more time. This is not a discussion on Trump. This is not a political show, guys. So I'm just going to remove the comments in a chat or in especially in the comment section if you're going to start talking politics, okay? Not the place. Bottom line is, because Donald Trump is our president and he's creating this policy, that's the reason we're talking about Donald Trump. But we're really talking about this policy. So please, no Trump conversations. Please take it somewhere else. We're talking about electric cars. The reason we're talking about this tariff that Trump administration is putting on solar products and like washing machines, and obviously they're targeting China and South Korea, but it's really, it's, you know, basically from any import that's coming in, that solar product into the United States is going to have a 30% tariff. Now, the idea behind it is that, okay, well, a lot of manufacturers' jobs will come to United States, which is Trump's big thing, bring the jobs back to United States. So we, you know, so China cannot just make it cheap and then just send it here. The weird part about this tariff thing is that even if that was true, because on the other side, people are saying, well, because the solar panels are going to be more expensive, less people are going to buy it. So a lot of salespeople and installation people will lose their jobs, or at least have their income cut by a certain percentage, because on average, it looks like the installation will go up by 7 to 10%, which is, you know, some significant in some cases. So, guys, you already discussed the politics on chat room. All right, so so, you know, and nobody knows, right? With these things, you don't know if it's going to bring the manufacturing jobs or it's going to lose a lot of installation jobs. So it's hard to tell, but I know they're both sides of the story here. But the thing is so this 30% tariff, it's only for 4 years. So the first year is going to be 30, and then it's going to be phased out by 5%. So 30 the first year, 25, 30, 25, 20, 15, and then it's gone. So even if a company out overseas say, okay, you know what, you got us, we're going to go and set up a manufacturing facility in the United States. Why would they do that? Because by the time they're done setting it up and getting it going, the tariff is going to be gone. So I don't quite understand this. Maybe you guys can explain that part to me, but I don't understand it fully. However, and this is where this is going. This is why I think this is just a pregame. I think this is what Trump and current administration is targeting. So these are the tariffs on cars. Now, if you want to import a car into the United States, you're going to pay 2.5% on that. If you want to, so if you want to import any Chinese car or, you know, BMW from your whatever, this is a tariff you're going to pay. Not that bad. Now, if you want to import a car into the United States, and this is what Tesla is, correction, if you want to import the car into China, and that's what Tesla's been doing, 25%, that's literally 10 times as much. So therefore, once all these Chinese companies are starting to make cars, like Xpeng Motors, for example, is making cars there already. There a company called Trumpchi, or how they're going to be called here, GAC, is making cars there already, and they're targeting electric cars. They're all trying to make cars for 40, 50,000. Tesla importing those cars and paying the tariff on top of that, that's going to be hard for Tesla or any outside American or European company to compete in China with Chinese companies. So I think this is where it's going. So either China will have to back down and make it a little bit more fair, and therefore more Teslas and more European electric cars are going to be sold in China, or America and other countries maybe will have to increase the tariffs on the imported cars, and that will drive the cost of the foreign cars higher, right? Because that will affect German cars and not just electric cars and other cars. So that's where I think this is where it's going to go, and I think this is where it's going to be interesting to see. So yeah, this is something to watch out for. Pat in the chat room says it could help local producers but greatly slow the rollout of solar. Absolutely, that means that jobs will be lost, right? Smartphones have poor sound quality, short battery life, are unreliable, bulky, and have too many problems. I check my blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't know if this is about electric cars or not, but I think you guys are having your own conversation. Let's see. Okay, so Donald is commenting on the previous issue. He says an example of the problem with radar and objects was the bottom of the beer can. Its shape is like a parabolic dish, and it amplifies the radar signal, making the object look much bigger than it is. I don't think it's about identifying object. I think it can identify the object. I think it's about the way you process that object. But in this case, it may just be that the object was not visible to the cameras or the radar. And that's something that is a completely different discussion, right? Obidobi, username, I think I'm pronouncing it right, says, is it such a problem in the United States? China produces 50% of all panels, but also installs 50% of all solar in the world. Well, so is it a problem? I don't know, right? I mean, is it a... I don't think that particular thing is not a problem, but when it comes to cars, right? Think about it. You know, Tesla will have a case saying, hey, listen, we have to pay 25% tariff and it's hard to compete in China. Why is it that they can come here and compete with us here in the United States by paying like 10 times less on their tariff? And this is going to shape a lot of things. It's going to shape about, you know, the pricing, the bottom lines, how well Tesla and American companies, Europeans can do compared to China, right? So it can really shape up a lot of things. And don't forget, a lot of Chinese companies and government even investing in a lot of green technology outside of China. So that creates a very complicated conflict of interest almost system where we don't want to be us, the consumers, to be on the losing end of it. So I think we should pay attention to that. And I think that's what the problem is, bigger than this little tariff of this little part of the solar panel business. What I'm saying is, I think it's just the beginning of a war that will have to play out between the governments and private companies. Let's see. Let's see a bit about, I'm just looking in the chat room. All right, guys, please, less Trump talk, more electric car talk. Guys, I'm begging you, let's not have political discussion. This is a discussion about electric car companies and tariffs and how Tesla and American and the European companies can compete in China and vice versa. Let's not talk about Trump. I know I have his face here, but let's just cover it up. Here, I will cover it up for you guys. As a matter of fact, you know, let's move on. Let's just move on. So we talked about this, we talked about that, we talked about, I'm just going down my list here. Oh, this is a good story. Now, as you guys know, Tesla's biggest advantage right now is a supercharging network, right? And no other car company can support long distance travel with fast charging right now. And this is why, besides having great cars, Tesla has the rest of them beat with having an amazing and fast growing, fast supercharging network. Now, here in the United States, that's the case, and I see absolutely no reason why this change in the next years. At the CES a couple of weeks ago, ChargePoint and all of the other, I wouldn't say all of the other, because I only seen like 5 charging networks who were there. None of them had real answers to or plans to cover the map of the United States or Canada in fast charging networks. So that's just not going to happen. But in Europe, they've already had 2 fast charging networks that are being funded by some car manufacturers, with BMW and Volkswagen and Porsche leading the way there, and some other companies, already 2. One of this is Ionity, and another one is, I forget, but there are already 2. They're growing. They're looking at about 400 to 600 charging fast chargers in Europe by 2020. Now this week, another one jumped in, a Mega E. This is another fast charging network they're targeting in the next 2 years, and this is where I think you will really need it in Europe to add more hundreds of fast charging locations in Europe. So now it looks like there are 3 companies in there trying to build those networks, and a lot of them are backed by the car companies, which makes all sense in the world, that will compete with Tesla, and therefore their cars, as long as they're equipped with level 3 or higher charging capabilities, will have their own supercharging network. Yes, they will have to share. I bet there will be lines in there as well, but they're doing it. But here in the United States, we're behind, and I think that's why Tesla is going to continue doing Continue doing, guys. You just are Trump haters there, which is fine. But guys, this is not the place. This is why I'm moving on. I'm not reading any more of your comments about Trump. David in the chat room. David Tucker in the chat room says, Solar City, now Tesla turned me down for the solar based on an old Google Earth view. I ended up with a local company that made their panels here in Oregon. Still waiting for my power wall too. You know, Tesla, once they bought Solar City, I thought was a great idea, right? Because they're now energy company. They are supporting their own idea of having independent green energy production and charging of their own cars. However, since they've done it, since they bought it, they realized that the way they were selling, which is door-to-door Jehovah's Witness kind of style selling, is no good. They tried to kind of move on and restructure the company and the structure the way they sell it, but nothing came out of it. It's been almost a year now, and I'm a bit concerned because, you know, a solar roof, the Tesla solar roof has been kind of slow to be rolled out. I know they're kind of starting to installations now, but I'm concerned, you know, because I know for a fact that there are a lot of other companies out there that either people who left Solar City created their own. I know for myself personally, and other companies just out there. They have been kicking ass. They've been on the cutting edge, and they've been taking market share little by little by little from Solar City and Tesla. And I think Tesla going to end up finding themselves really behind this whole thing. A lot of people are getting, and they're, you know, competing products that are in some cases just as good, or at least catching up elsewhere. So I think Tesla, with this huge opportunity with Solar City, I don't know if they're doing this right. And I'm a little concerned because they've fallen behind on this as well. So we'll see what happens. I hope some big announcement is coming up, or they start really installing those Tesla roofs. But it is a concern for me as far as you know, someone who's rooting for Tesla. Let's move on to the next story. Okay, I'm just gonna move on to Nissan. All right, so this is a picture from an email that I got as one of the people who put myself on the list interested in the new Leaf. They finally sent out this advertising, and they're advertising the new Leaf's purchasing and mainly the lease. And the lease is like $250, including all the taxes and fees, and I think you put like $4,000. So it's relatively good, reasonable lease. But most importantly, this car is now on the market under $30,000, and they're also allowing lease. For example, someone like me who always leases cars, I'm not going to buy a Model 3, even if it has a $35,000 version, until there's a lease option available to me. And I know quite a few people the same way. So very smart. And I guess this is something I forgot to mention when I was talking about it. This is why companies like Toyota and BMW that I criticize all the time, they're behind and they're not even trying. But this is the reason why they can sit on the sidelines, continue making and selling their gas cars, figuring out and watching Tesla and other companies battle it out for the new technology. What is it going to be? Is it going to be battery swap? Is it going to be infrastructure? Is it going to be you know, solid state or lithium ion? They're just going to see everybody battle it out. And once they think that something is settled, they're going to jump in, throw a lot of money and resources at the problem, and bring it to masses really quickly. And tied up to this story is that, see, Tesla cannot offer lease right now. They need to make as much money on Model 3 as possible, and lease is how it's going to take. It's not the best way for the company to get the money up front really quick. So they're not offering leases right now. But Nissan, they can take a hit. They don't need to sell them to continue existing. So they're able to offer a lease. And somebody whose car lease is expiring right now, they want to move to maybe Model 3, but they can't wait for another half a year. As a matter of fact, Tesla hasn't even announced when the lease is going to be available. Just this alone might switch them to Nissan Leaf because of just financial deal that Nissan Leaf is offering. You have to get it by March 31st, but nevertheless, that's the deal that they're offering. And by the way, well, let me just back in the chat room. Justin JK actually making good point. It says Nissan Leaf is worth buying in 2019, not now. Yes, so here's what I think he's referring to. First of all, they're going to have active thermal management system, which a lot of people saying are really not necessary because the batteries that they produce now actually don't degrade as much because of the heat, and they perform much better in the cold. we will see. There's some truth to it, I understand, but they will have that. It looks that way. But most importantly, they'll have an option for an extended range. Right now it's 151. They're saying they're going to get it an option as 225. But people who don't need that range and they're buying it for their daily, driving to work and back, and they can buy a 151 mile range a Nissan right now, they might as well do it because the deal is here. It's here, and if they need to buy a car right now, I think a lot of them will go for that. REP in the chat room says default. Okay, I think you guys are talking about Tesla. Okay, so Ben, it says Tesla buying Solar City is like Microsoft buying Nokia. What the heck? You know what? I thought it was a great deal. I thought wrapping this into one company, providing the energy for your product and jumping into just, this is a huge market of providing energy and storing energy for businesses and homes is a good deal. Is a great deal. It was smart, except for you have to do it. And they're not doing it. So I think it's a great idea. They just need to execute it. If a company wants to get a charger to become a destination charger, which Tesla would pay for half the cost of installation, I believe they can apply on their website, says DRK. Installation chargers, and I think you're talking about, let's see if I should have a picture of a destination charger here. If you give me 1 second, I don't want to waste your time actually. The destination chargers are still not at your home. Here's a picture. They're somewhere in the mall. This is for you to just get extra juice when you're shopping or whatever. I don't think that's going to solve the problem. I think you have to have a charger at your home. That's the only way to go. The Jag I-Pace says Star Lord in the chat room is out next year. Actually, I think it's at the end of this year, and his range is 300 plus mile. You are talking about this car right here, which I will absolutely consider myself. It's a good looking car. Yes, there is no fast charging network, but since I already have a Tesla, having this as maybe a car that my girlfriend drives, it actually will make sense. Though I have to say they are pricing it, I think, about in the 70s, so not 50s like people expected. So I'm not really sure if you want to choose it over Model X or Model S, but it's still a great option. But they also announced today, not today, this week, that Jaguar XJ, which I love, absolutely, is going to be all electric in 2020 and also going to have a decent range, I think closer to 300. So that was another story that came out this week that I absolutely like because I like this car. I like the fact that Jaguar is jumping in the game. Good looking cars, established company. So I'm really rooting for them. So this is the car that's going to be electric in just a couple of years. Matt in the chat room says, I read that the Tesla shingle resumed production this month, which is true. And they're actually starting to install to early adopters now. This is good news, he says. I hope I can wait this long. Absolutely. This is an amazing product. It's a roof and it creates energy for you. It's 2-in-1. And the only problem is, of course, if you don't need a roof to be replaced, you might have to end up paying more than it might be worth at that point, but it will increase the longevity of the roof, of course, and the value of your home, and you don't have to pay for electricity or car charging, so I think it actually makes sense as well. REP says Model 3 will probably sell cheaper when the Model Y comes out and everyone wants the SUV instead. No, I think there will still be market for small four-door sedan, just like, BMW 3 Series does just fine. And I even got graphics for this topic right here. But at the same time, I think they won't make it cheaper, though I think that would be reasonable. But I think they will just include some options as a standard package like they've done with Model S and Model X. So instead of decreasing the price, they've included more stuff for the price. Because don't forget, the margin on that is relatively small. So going down might hurt them. They might go the route that BMW and Mercedes took with going like entry into the entry luxury car, like BMW has like 1 and 2 series, the Mercedes, what they have, a CLS, I think, or whatever. So they might actually produce a car that's even smaller than the Model 3, probably going to be like tiny little hatchback. That might be at 20 and 25,000. I can see them doing it, but not right now. Let's see. I'm just trying to catch up with your comments. Nigel says, I have 3-year-old Zoe. I have no other EV out there that makes any sense to change to. Model 3 not available. Leaf not out. Yeah, you know what, Zoe, first of all, yeah, Zoe does make sense, a lot of sense. In Europe, it's a hatchback, it's a small compact car, but most importantly, you can lease a battery independent of the car. And I absolutely love that business model. If it's ever available to me, I think I'm definitely going to go with the leased battery as a separate thing. Nigel says BMW never going to make cheap cars. I think you can buy their like entry 1 series at like 25 to 29,000. Am I mistaken? I thought, I mean, relatively cheap, right? It's not going to be $10,000 cheap, but I thought, you know, 25,000 BMW, it's a cheap BMW. All right, let's move on to another story, guys. Just so many stories. By the way, let me remind you, and let me thank you for those of you guys who are Patreons. Every week I try to post some behind the scene footage or some exclusive report for my Patreons. The link is down below if you want to support the show and therefore make it possible for me to go out and cover all these on-location events. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. Which brings me to a couple events that I have covered recently. One of them was this car, which is a Corvette that's converted into a supercar, electric supercar, 175 mile range, but it's really not about the range. I know some of you guys thought it was too expensive. Obviously, it's $750,000, but it is an exotic car for car collectors that already have 10 different cars, and they just want to. But the reason I wanted to cover the story, and the video's out already on my channel, is because it's a great way to showcase how you can take a gas car that a lot of drivers love, right, and convert it to an electric car and make it better and showcase it. Look, we can make your car better by going electric. Now, there's a lot of criticism of them leaving the stick shift on, but I think this is kind of cool because people who love stick shift will still get to drive an electric car. That's a stick shift. So I think more for like a habit, but I know it got some criticism about that, but nevertheless, you can check it out. My interview with their CEO, pretty cool guy, and a little bit of footage of him meeting Jay Leno at the Monterey Car Week earlier last year. Now tonight, I'm going to release another video from the CES. This one is about Nissan. They brought a concept car to the show. I talked to probably the funnest interview I had. As much as I love my interview with Henrik Fisker, which you can see on my channel now. I love interviewing this guy. He was full of energy. He was cool. We're joking around. It was good. But at the same time, we had an honest conversation about not just IMX, which you see behind me there, but also about the Nissan Leaf, some of the shortcomings it had. I thought it was a good sport answering that. Beautiful car, I think, but just a concept for now. Anyway, the full video is on the channel at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Check it out. Okay, you guys mentioned me. DRK mentions me. I know that, Alex, I was answering someone's question. Okay, yeah, you were. Sorry. Sometimes I look at the chat and I have like a 2 second to decide if it's a question or not. If you guys talking to yourself, if you type like @ and then say E for electric, then I'll know you actually talking to me. It makes it easier to figure out which chat messages to read and which ones to ignore. So yeah, so that's check it out. I have 3 more videos after this about CES. I've been trying to space it out. I think I have total 8 or 9 videos. I was just trying to cover each cool thing that I saw there separately. So I already have Fisker, I got Byton, I got Genovation and Nissan covered. What else I have? Crap, I'm forgetting, I think 1 or 2. But anyway, so, and I have Xpeng Motors covered. An odd appearance at CES. Also Hyundai Nexo, their car that's hydrogen fuel cell, which I was kind of surprised about. And at the end of the day, the interview with Nikki of Transport Evolved. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure a lot of you watch that channel. Transport Evolved, they also do very similar stuff about electric cars. Really cool. I strongly recommend that. I was on her channel. I'll show you a little bit of that footage earlier this week. So if you go to her channel, you will see me on Transport Evolved talking about with her and Kate, her co-host, about the Toyota presentation, which I was disappointed in, but Nikki also had an interesting opinion. Nikki has very interesting opinion on every topic. That's why I love talking to her. Now, my Patreons, of course, who have exclusive access to some of my footage, they have already seen a full interview of me and Nikki. I'm going to cut it down to maybe like 10-15 minutes, but I think it's a full 20 minute version for my Patreons. Once again, Thank you guys so much for supporting me. If you want to support the show, once again, it's in the description of this video. And you guys can also let me know what type of stuff you want to see there, because it is a smaller community there and I'm able to produce the content that you guys request. All right. What else have I missed? Oh yeah, so another thing that's been happening this week, and I'm going to get the video going for you right now. Now, this video is of me walking into a Tesla store showroom in Stanford Center. This was pretty much one of the first two Model 3s that were on display a couple of weeks ago. This was literally 2 hours after they've displayed it, but after that, it was an afternoon, I believe Thursday or Friday afternoon. After that, people started showing up because there were a lot of media there, and so people found out. At some point over the weekend, the line was as long as 2 hours to get in there, sit in it, play around with it, and check it out. You can't take it out to a test drive, but Tesla have been rolling out these cars all throughout the country, and now I have my list here. They're now in San Diego, Newport Beach, Washington DC, and Scottsdale. So if you're living somewhere near those areas, you can go to the showroom and check out the car. You should probably budget about an hour to stand in line. So FYI. You know, another news that came out this week, and this is kind of you know, I hate covering stuff like that. Well, okay, well let's do this. Over the air update for Tesla Model 3, which by the way is the second best thing about Tesla, because Tesla has those, they have the capability to update their software and therefore to make their cars better. Like they did with this. This is a kind of a fishbowl view, and this is what the backup camera looks like on the Model 3. They have actually made it better. You know, it really looked really bad and cheap, to be honest with you. I know you got some criticism by saying that, but that just looked like a very cheap camera, very hard to kind of see and figure out fishbowl view. Now they've rolled out a software which kind of flattened it out. This is more like an after view, so it's still kind of fishbowl-y, but it's better. So this is one of the things I love, right? I mean, last year, for some, I believe 75D Model S cars, people walk up to their car being 1 second faster, 0 to 60. How awesome is that? Your car just got faster overnight for free with the over-the-air update. So this one was done for Model 3, and the camera view is just a little bit better. But let me go to another story, and I really, you know, I didn't spend that much time talking about it because, you know, this is, I believe, kind of a hearsay, but nevertheless, I mean, to be fair, we got to cover it. So a bunch of Tesla ex-employees, which is already, you know, you got to take it with a grain of salt. They got together and started saying that, listen, we believe Model 3 is going to have a lot of problems in the future. There's probably going to be future delay because the battery packs were put together by hand. A lot of parts were put together by hand. It's all going to go to crap, right? Now, again, as you know, I kind of call BS because, first of all, whenever someone who is no longer with the company, I don't know if you're fired or you are disgruntled ex-employee, so, you know, but even, I mean, we know that they were put together by hand, but I already said that Tesla has a history of figuring things out. Early Model S, early Model X cars were put together by hand. Now, I know some people said, well, the Rolls-Royce puts cars together by hand and they're fine. Well, no, that's a different. Rolls-Royce business model evolves around that. They train their employees, their equipment all is specifically made for those cars to be made by hand. Tesla is not that way. They just kind of had to figure it out as they went along. And yes, those cars have had some little issues here and there, but with the Model S and with the Model X, there were no any major problems. Whatever little problems we had as early adopters, they were fixed. They were fixed in a timely manner, and everything was okay. And in this case, Tesla actually got smarter, and they sold the first batch of those Model 3s to their own employees. So the early problems were solved within the family, if you will. Okay, so I think if anything, this car is going to have less problems than the Model S and the Model X, which wasn't really that bad if you think about it. When it comes to putting those batteries by hand and other parts. So I'm going to go ahead and ignore that story for now. I'm just looking at my steamer here, just make sure that my voice just keeps going. So that's where I stand on that story. Hydrogen fuel cell, says Nigel in the chat room. You know, yeah, you know, and this is what my story about the Hyundai releasing the car is. I don't really understand why companies are trying to go for it. I talked to the senior vice president of Kia at CES, and he told me that they're really just counting on governments to build those fueling stations. As you know, you can't really refuel your hydrogen fuel cell car at home, and this is just something that they're doing as a compliance cars, especially in Japan and Europe, where there is some fueling stations. They end up selling them. I think Toyota Mirai has hit what, 3,000 cars sold in the whole United States, which is only confined to California. Hyundai Nexo is also going to have only like California market to deal with. It looks like it's never had a chance. That technology never had a chance, but some companies are still betting on it. I don't understand why. So yeah. Drew Swagger in the chat room says, how long until you think you could pick up a used Model 3 for around $15,000 to $20,000? Okay, so first they're gonna have to start selling 35,000 versions. So I would say, let's say at the worst, it's gonna be May, June, right? Okay, people buy 35,000 cars. The first ones will really cost them $25,000 because they're still going to claim the credit, even partial. California rebate, or Canada or Europe. Well, really just going to be California, right? Okay, so I'm going to go back. So it's going to be in America. They're still going to have a benefit of the tax incentive. In many states like California, you're going to have a rebate. So those cars are going to cost under $30,000 for people who are buying them. I think it's going to take a couple of years for the long waiting list to subside. And I think by then, people who bought it originally for $30,000 will start selling them, and they will probably sell them at $20,000, $25,000. So I would say at least 2 years, and there will be a few, but when it's going to be more or less kind of, okay, I can get one used, I think we're looking at another 3 years. At least this is judging by what happened with the Model S. And even with the Model X, you can't buy a Model X very cheap right now. They're still holding the value, and people are holding on to them. So that's to answer your question. It's all speculation, but I'd say 3 years. If we're talking 20,000, you're talking about 15 to 20. I'm just going to say even 20, at least 3 years. I know there will be 1 and 2 here and there, just like you can pick up a Tesla Model S for 35 grand once in a while. It's like one for the entire world once a month, or once in 2 months. REP, and by the way, thank you for putting @ E for electric. That way, I know you guys are want your question answer that highlights on my screen. Ari says, E for electric, Tesla is not having any more problems than any other car manufacturer. Tesla just gets more attention for every little thing. When is the last time anyone watched GMS process? Well, yes and no. Yes, they're definitely getting more scrutiny. Absolutely, no doubt about it. But however, they also are doing things a little bit startup-ish, right? It's kind of a startup mode. I mean, the Nissan Leaf is not going to be built by hand ever, right? Until they got their production line ready, they're just going to build them. And the way they do this is they already have facilities and staff and all of that stuff. They can figure it out. They can create their assembly line at the factory they already have and get going. It is not news for them. They can do it in their sleep, right? Tesla has to kind of hurry up, do things by hand, meet their own deadlines, figure things out. Now they have to build another factory if they want to produce Model Y and a pickup truck. So no, Tesla is doing it a little bit, startup-ish, but yes, they're obviously going to get, and are getting a lot of scrutiny. So I guess I would say 50-50 to answer your question. Visit World Online, live camps. Hello, guys. How are you? Welcome to the chat. Let's see. Peter in the chat room says Tesla great at PR, but the US market where a loan of approximately 1% interest does not happen in New Zealand, say, where it says 70%. So, country to country, it varies, right? In China, you got 25% tariff. In New Zealand, Australia, and some parts of Europe, you have your own tariffs, but you also have, like in Germany, they're making laws against Tesla, right? They're obviously targeting Tesla where they would not give them incentives, while the other ones would, and they're playing that game. So there's always a challenge everywhere. But, like in other countries, I think Iceland, people are having problems with superchargers because they're not. And it is a growing, baby steps. This industry, this exciting electric car industry, are in its infancy. We're going through the growing pains, but it is freaking exciting. So we'll get there, but we got to get through the first stages of it, and we are in the first stages right now, guys. Let's see. Tesla P85D. who just bought his 100D and canceled his Model 3 reservations. Once again, congratulations. He said, Lightyear 1 being presented at CES 2018 with extreme solar technology. It's a Dutch company. You know, it was huge. The conference was huge. I was only able to get to so many places. I was there for 4 days. And also the first 2 days were media days. If they weren't presenting there, I didn't have a chance to interview them because you have to schedule interviews way ahead. REP says charging stations are very cheap and easy to set up. Okay. Are you talking about charging? Oh, yeah, you're talking about hydrogen requires the same or more regulations to install, EPA tanks buried and so forth. Yeah, I mean it is much tougher technology to have an infrastructure for and even have personal use for. Though I wouldn't say the charging stations are cheap. I mean, maybe cheap compared to the hydrogen fuel cell, but they're still kind of pricey. You end up spending $1,000, including labor for your electrician, at least on those, right? Q-Tip Shark, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for once again being a part of the community, which is growing. Alan says Tesla believes in automation. They're trying to go robots to do everything, but this can be expensive and complicated in the beginning. So yes, I mean, you're absolutely right. You know, especially Model 3, it's mainly done by robots. It's not really mainly done by people. And so whenever they were trying to get the Model 3s out, people were putting them together. Obviously not as good as robots. And as a matter of fact, the delays were really not something that you can expect in the future, because once they figure out how to have those robots put something together, and I guess they were having problem with the battery pack, it's done. It's done not only for Model 3, I'm assuming Model Y, and it looks like it's going to be based on Model 3. So once they figure all this out, once they figure out how to have robots building robots, then it's getting much easier. They're really pioneering this. So the fact that they only got delayed by 3 months at the most is amazing, right? I mean, yes, I've been really hard on Elon Musk for saying something that he kind of, I thought, could not deliver and did not deliver. I understand he's a PR guy and a showman. I just thought that that was bad for a Tesla and electric car community. But nevertheless, if you think and put it on a grand scheme of things, it's amazing that they were able to figure it out only in a couple of months. Surely he's making 1,500 to 2,000 Model 3s per week by now, says Nigel in chat room. I'd say about 1,500, because remember they started the year with 1,000 per. So 1,500 is probably more reasonable. They're saying they're going to be at 5,000 per week by the end of the quarter. So that's another 2 months. So I would say 1,500 is a little more reasonable. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they're definitely ramping up. I mean, I got to tell you, I'm seeing Model 3s on the road, just driving around almost every day. I see huge trucks floated with Model 3s going down the 101 freeway to go to LA and Southern California all the time. The showrooms now have display models. The delivery centers are full of Model 3s. It is happening. It is definitely happening. Let's see. Alan says Tesla believes in automation. They're trying to get, okay. Oh yeah, I've read that one. Wow, I'm really tripping over myself. Ben in the chat room says Tesla needs to focus on production, and they think they are. I do think they're spread a little bit thin between the Roadster and the Semi and the Model S and the Model X and the Model Y. A lot of things going on. Our triplet says the bad thing about the hydrogen is it takes more energy to produce hydrogen fuel than the output. I did not know that, so I can't comment on that, but that's definitely would be a deal breaker, I would say, at the very least. REP says I was talking about setting up commercial charging station. Oh yeah, it's a commercial charging station is definitely much cheaper than a hydrogen fuel cell fueling station, and 1,000 per charger is definitely nothing. Though I think they're a little bit more costly because they're higher voltage, and it's, I think, a little more costly than 1,000. But granted, I think we're agreeing here. I think that's the point. Ari in the chat room also says for a gas station or hydrogen station versus a Tesla supercharger is a large difference. Gas station requires permitting, digging for tanks, EPA cost, and inspection. Yeah, well, okay, so just so you know, superchargers also require a lot of permits because it's a lot of electricity, high voltage electricity. It has to be safe. There's a lot of things you have to do, but yeah, definitely not as much you would assume with gas. Justin in the chat room says no one should care about Tesla being late, as they are years and bounds ahead of everyone else in tech implementation. Mainly yes, in some cases no. I've talked about Autopilot being behind. There was a study that a lot of people dispute, but Tesla is behind on Autopilot. So that's, they're behind other companies, and they're even behind themselves. As I've mentioned it many times, I'm not really sure if we should beat that dead horse, but overall I agree with you, Justin. They're definitely far ahead, but they have to stay far ahead to be able to compete in the future. Obviously, I think the bigger companies can catch up much faster than you think, obviously, because they have money, resources, talent, and so forth. Now, talent is questionable, right? But at least people. You know, you can throw sometimes money and a lot of number of people on the problem and solve it faster and compete with startups. Let's see. Alan says Elon Musk is the master at keeping many balls in the air. He is, but at the same time, even masters can drop the ball if there are too many of them, and that's what I'm kind of afraid of. I really, as much as I'm excited about semi-truck, as much as I'm excited about the Roadster, I have to say that I think it might have been a bit of a mistake to go there so early. I would have rather seen Model 3 rolled out. I would rather have seen Model Y, if not unveiled, but also kind of in production, in a pickup truck going before they went to the semi route and an exotic Roadster route. I think that has taken a lot of their attention and resources away from the, you know, eyes on the prize, which is a Model 3, Model Y, building a new factory. So again, I love what they've done. It was a great show, but as far as a long game is concerned, I would have preferred to see them concentrate a little bit more on the Model 3 ahead of the semi-truck. Let's see. REP says, I'm suspicious that Tesla with Autopilot is developing in secret and not telling us. I think they may pop out with develops all at once at the end. No doubt about it. I'm pretty sure they're working on something awesome, and I think it will be awesome. But right now, they're behind. And I think they're behind of where they want to be themselves. I think they wanted to be further ahead. But once they develop that chip themselves, the GPU chip for self-driving, once they figure out a few things with software and hardware even, I think we're going to have an announcement that's going to blow our minds. But we'll see. Now, I keep saying, you know, this is one of the things that I've learned at CES is that the autonomous driving technology is really not targeting us as regular drivers right now, especially with level 4. Where they're shifting their focus is the ride-sharing services like Uber, public transportation, and so forth. This is what I've gathered by attending all these press conferences and having these conversations and just walking around the automotive part of the CES. They are not targeting us right now. They're targeting Uber, making sure that Uber cars and Lyft cars and, you know, Waymo's got their own service, can get to our place and drive us around, drop us off, and that's the industry they're targeting first. Ari says Tesla was first coming out with the leading autopilot features and people abused it and caused problems. Maybe Tesla is waiting until it is ready to drive you to release it. So I have a problem with that because, you know, people use technology irresponsible all the time. They do it with gas cars all the time, but somehow those cars and those manufacturers don't get a scrutiny. We're just going to get a supercharger picture just because we're talking about supercharging once in a while. But, you know, gas cars don't get as much scrutiny when people misuse their technology, right? All the time. And yet when Tesla's autopilot, it doesn't even matter what company's autopilot, you know, having once in a while fail even, then everybody jumps on it. This definitely reminds me, remember the Teslas, a couple of Teslas caught on fire because they ran over a big pile of crap and ignited a fire. Nobody died. And then there was this big thing, oh, Teslas are horrible. They catch on fire all the time. 2 cases. And then you go back and you see how many gas cars catch on fire, like tens of thousands a year. Once again, Tesla gets into scrutiny. But Tesla goes like, you know what? No problem. We'll retrofit all our cars and all of our new cars are going to have the shield. That's what they've done. Sorry. I'm starting to lose my voice. That's what they've done, and that's why they're once again better than gas cars. Sorry guys, I'm starting to lose my voice. So I should get to a next story, which is a kind of cool story. Rimac, as you know, they came out with, I think, what was it called? Concept 1. something one, but it was a supercar that they had, and it's I think I need a cough drop. It's a supercar that they had that did really well. It was a really good looking one. It was you know, it's like a European small tiny little company in a small tiny little European town. So that did make create a big splash. But now they released a video. Oh, thank you. I'm just getting my cough drop here. Sorry guys, I'm gonna have to do this because I am dying here. My voice is literally going on me. So I'm gonna pop out cough drops. Excuse me. Oh yeah. So they released a video, a teaser. I'm gonna show it to you right now. They're teasing the new one. I think it's gonna be called. If it was Concept 1, tell me in the chat room. Yeah, oh yeah, Concept 1. It's Concept 2. You're right. Nikki kind of fished it out. I didn't know it was called Concept 2, but it's a Concept 2 preview. It's going to be unveiled, I believe, March 7th in Europe. We don't know the specs yet. March 6th in Geneva. I'm going to let you watch it again. You see some lines. You can see it's going to be a pretty cool looking car. Not too many specs right now. And, you know, I'm sure we'll find out. They're obviously trying to compete with a Roadster. I don't know if the price is going to be 250 or more. I'm going to assume more. So now let me show you the Photoshop version. This is me photoshopping one of the stills and highlighting everything. So this is probably the best view of the car we have right now. Looks pretty cool. You know, they make good looking cars. They got great technology. Obviously, it's an exotic car. Obviously, it's something that is going to be done on a smaller scale, but nevertheless, and this is, I don't know, you guys gonna have to tell me. In the comment section for my Genovation GXC, you know, electric Corvette conversion video, you guys were saying, hey, listen, who wants a car for $750,000? It's too expensive, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I think a lot of you guys praising this car and this company. So tell me, what is the difference if this car is almost $1 million and a converted Corvette is almost $750,000? You know, why do you guys love this and don't love the other one? Now, I personally don't care for exotic cars that cost $1 million. Can't afford it myself. I don't think that really plays a big role in the electric car universe as far as, you know, regular people concerned. Great show. Great show. I think both cars put together a great show on that. So I'm not really sure why we favor one or the other. Please let me know. I am a little lost here. Just wanted to know your opinion. DRK in the chat room says each division has its head. I.e. the semi-trucks is run by a guy who has over 25 years in the business. They were there when they were producing the Model S. I understand that people who work on semi-truck or a Roadster are not the same people who are working in the Model 3. But nevertheless, you have to admit that they are crossing the talents, right? Because the Roadster needs a battery. Right, and somebody worked on that battery to get it to 620 miles on a single charge, right? They needed to be designed, the aerodynamics and so forth. But these are the same people, the same talent that could have been working on the battery and the look and the design of the Model Y. There's only so much talent Tesla has at their disposal, right? So what I'm saying is, like, even though I understand that semi-truck people who are working on it are not always the same people, but the key people who have to design the technology, the software and so forth, it's not like Tesla has access to a lot of them. This is Silicon Valley. This is high-tech industry. People have to steal each other's talents because there's only so many. The high-tech industry didn't expect that, you know, they're gonna need people doing software for self-driving technology or the battery technology. This was kind of like whoever just happened to be the engineers, good engineers in that tiny little niche, are now trying to be, you know, torn apart because there's the demand so much, and the new generation of those software engineers haven't even finished college yet. So no, there's only so many resources Tesla has, just like any other company. They can't just hire more people because, you know, they needs to be talented people who are good at it. So I feel like these people who worked in a semi and a Roadster could have been working on a Model Y or a pickup truck or whatever next is coming for the mass market. Again, we had a great show. They had a great unveiling show, and it's great. They're gonna do well with both. I just don't see this being a higher priority thing over the Model 3 production, over the Model Y unveiling. Don't forget, people are catching up. I've been talking I've been talking to you guys almost every day about this car. Kia Niro EV, 238 miles, good looking SUV. You know, Kia service centers everywhere, the warranty and everything. They're in the market this year, guys. When is Tesla going to have their Model Y? In 2-3 years? This guy might just get the market share, and by then they might also figure out the fast charging network, especially in Europe. So no, I feel like Tesla should have maybe pushed the Model Y a little bit further, because now they got these guys competing with them. That is just my opinion, and I don't really even, people go like, why do you get so upset about it? I don't get upset about it. I'm just trying to figure out what is the logic behind it. I mean, obviously, I'm just sitting here in my home studio talking about it, and I'm sure they have bigger plans, but it's not like they don't screw up. It's not like they're not driven sometimes by being able to show off. So I'm just saying, I think the truck could have, semi-truck and especially a roadster could have waited, you know? DRK says, please don't get sick. What is going around is horrible. No, I'm not really sick. It's just my voice. I don't know why my voice, I can't last for too long. This is why I can't do karaoke even. 2 songs and I'm out, which probably is a good thing. But last night, you know, last night is Saturday night and we went out. We went to a birthday party. I also went to a seminar on Patreon for the local creators, talked there, talked at the birthday party. It was loud. Then we went out dancing. It was loud there. So by the end of the night, my voice was kind of gone. Then I tried to bring it back, and now I've been talking for an hour and a half. So, but I'm not getting sick. I might not be able to talk for the rest of the day today, but I'm hoping to be okay by tomorrow 11 a.m. when I'm doing my show in the morning. But thank you for your concern. I appreciate it. Nigel in the chat room says, what are your thoughts on that old fart ex-GM head who keeps crapping on Tesla? He is a disgrace. Who pays him the Cobra? Yeah, you know, yeah. Here's the thing. The ex-GM, just in case you guys didn't know, so ex-General Motors a CEO kind of came, you know, who's been retired for a while. Yes, that guy is responsible for a horrible, crappy cars GM's been producing for many years. And it ended up basically running the companies into bankruptcy when we had that big issue with the car industry here. And yes, his company had to get bailed out, but he's got an opinion how we should be pushing everything forward. He decided that he's the right guy to talk about innovation, and moving forward the technology, pretty much everything that he's never done in his life. So he came out and he said how Tesla is just going to go bankrupt any day now. This is not what people want, blah, blah, blah. So he literally just trolled Tesla for no reason. At this point, you know, he's got no credibility. He's got a history of running a company poorly, at least as far as technology is concerned. To me, he's just an old man screaming at the kids to get off his lawn, you know? That's all it is. And it only shows that, you know, if these old farts, you know, old school American car makers, old company buddies, if they're this worried, that means we're doing something right. Actually, we're doing a lot right. So him putting that statement out is only going like, yeah, we're doing it right. The grandfather is upset about my iPhone. I know I got something here. Ben in the chat room says, does Kia have charging at their dealers? That's an interesting question. You know what? I'm gonna assume once they're gonna start rolling out. I mean, I know they have the Kia Soul right now, Kia Soul EV. I'm assuming some do, some don't. So I don't have a good answer. But I think once they start selling this car, and I think this is going to be a hot seller, they're gonna start figuring that out. But right, for the sake of an argument, that's not a destination where you want to count on to charge your Kia. Moving ahead on the battery, Semi will advance the electric transport industry far more than bringing one more model car online, says Home Comfort. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they should have not innovated in a battery technology. What I'm saying is they should have innovated that for the Model Y and the pickup truck rather than innovating it for the Semi and the Roadster. That's what I'm saying, right? Because it's the same technology of advancing the, you know, the weight and capacity of lithium-ion batteries, and at some point solid-state batteries. Whether it's on a Semi, Roadster, or Model 3 or Model Y, that doesn't really matter. So if you're going to work on it, I'd rather have you work for it for all of us who are not in the market for a Semi or a $250,000 exotic Roadster car. I mean, am I not making sense? I thought it was kind of okay. Adalberto Delgado says, I do not take any other car company serious about EVs until they build their own superchargers. Well, as I reported earlier today and early in the week, there's a third supercharger-like fast charging network that they are announcing in Europe. By the end of 2020, that should have altogether between those three almost 1,000 fast charging stations in Europe, which is pretty considerable. So they are catching up. Where we're not catching up is here in the United States. And that's where Tesla is going to dominate specifically for that. Also, don't forget, like for example, excuse me, in my family, we have 2 Teslas right now, right? But we mainly drive one of them, mine, when we go on trips or we go like drive around on the weekend or whatever. So in our case, we might keep one of our cars as a Tesla, which we will. But the second one could be this car, which my girlfriend will drive, or I'll drive back and forth to work. And just that's going to be 40-mile at most commute every day. So no, there is a market for this kind of car, I think. And don't forget, people do have a situation where they work for companies where there are charging stations there, so they don't have to worry about it. And there are some routes that have level 3 charging around here with EVgo and so forth. So it does work for some people. I just think this car is going to do very well. I'm telling you guys. I mean, this is my prediction, but I think they're going to do well. Peter in the chat room says a self-driving car is currently a taxi with a human driver. LOL. Could Model Y be the same size as Model 3? I think Model Y will have to be very similar to the size of Model 3 because they're building it on the same architecture of Model 3. So yeah, I mean, that would be the smart thing to do because they will need to bring that Model Y to the market pretty quickly. And they've already admitted they don't want to build yet another car from the ground up. So from what I understand, they're going to take Model 3 and build the Model Y on top of that, which makes sense. So yes, I think it's going to be almost the same size. Let's see. Why don't you talk about Hyundai Kona EV, Justin? You know, because I don't know much about it. Does it have a 200-mile or even a 105-mile range? Let me know. You know, there are a lot of electric cars that are just not worth talking about. And I like talking about things that are new because, you know, it's the news show most of the time, and innovative. I just haven't seen Hyundai innovate or have anything new lately except for the Hyundai Nexo, which I think is a bit of a mistake, or maybe a planned compliance car. Let's see. The Arcane in chat room says, I see your point. You think they need to button down and focus on what will be the best for the company and will move them ahead. Yeah, and I think what was going to be best for the company is to make sure that they're producing a lot of cars that a lot of people are buying, because they still need to expand even the concept and an idea of the electric vehicles. You know, in the United States, there's only 1%. No, I think it's a worldwide stat. So 1% of all cars that are being purchased are electric. We have a long way to go. The way to do it is to spread them all around. Let the neighbors see it. Let our coworkers see our electric cars. That's how you have to spread this revolution. But because there's a semi-truck, or once in a while you see an exotic Tesla car, this is not going to win anyone's hearts. Like for example, I was lucky to have a relatively nice Silicon Valley salary for the last 20 years, but I can't afford a $250,000 car. At least it's, I mean, maybe I can, but it's irresponsible of me, financially irresponsible to do that. So when the Tesla originally came out with the Roadster, I was like, oh yeah, I'd love to own an electric car. Wait, how much? And I was like, no, I can't afford it. So then I completely forgot about Tesla. As a matter of fact, when Tesla Model S was coming on the market and someone says, hey, you should check out the Tesla, I was like, no, that's ridiculous. Those cars are exotic cars for like very few people. I don't care. And then people had to convince me that, no, this is different this time. So if anything, Roadster or Semi only tells people that this is the car for a very small niche of very special rich people or corporations. Where Model 3, Model Y are the cars that will be saying, this is the car for everybody and most of you can afford it and enjoy it. Look at your neighbor, look at your coworker, look at your friend. They're all driving these cars and they're loving it, okay? So I think that's where this whole thing needs to come from, and not a semi-truck. I'd rather see Model Ys on the road, and I think financially for Tesla, I'm assuming it's better to sell 20 extra thousand Model Ys per month rather than to sell semi-trucks, at least sooner rather than later. All right, guys, once again, just want to remind you that this video and this channel is sponsored by Evanex, the aftermarket accessories for Tesla cars. And of course, you can find the discount code specifically for our community in the description of this video. And once again, guys, thank you for this, for our community growing with every day. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's see. Ari in the chat room says, Bob Potts kills the V1, which everyone loved. I'm not sure if everybody loved it. It was a kind of a weird looking car, but yeah, they did kill it. Then had the problems and stopping the Kodiak truck line, which was doing well, and killed Saturn, which was also doing well. I'm assuming that's his name, the former GM name. Yeah, this is not the guy that I want to listen to. This is not the guy who's on the side of innovation. Looks like this is the guy who was sold out to oil companies a long time ago and really is out of touch with reality. I think we're all agreeing on that, right? Deviant Technologist, I mean, correctly is pointing out in the chat room that says trucking has different economics than luxury performance cars. And yes, you can do very well with that. What I'm saying is Tesla is spreading themselves thin. They got solar roofs, they got superchargers, they got power packs, they got a Model Y in the works, pickup truck, the Model S, Model X, and the Model 3. That's a lot of things that are going on right now with Tesla. What I'm saying is they don't need to go into yet another industry. No, they were also thinking about going to, from what I understand, going into competing with Pandora, the music service industry. You can't be spread this thin when you're just starting out and you're still relatively a small growing company and the margin for error is very small. Yes, they're going to do amazingly well with a semi-truck. Yes, the Roadster is an amazing car. But you gotta, I think you need to keep your eyes on the prize and just come up with your a regular flagship lineup, your fleet that appeals to the masses, and then spread yourself into a completely different category of semi-trucks, or even again stay in a category of exotic, fast supercars. That's my opinion. I think I may not be fully wrong here. EcoKid says, new factory for Tesla cars will be announced very soon. They need it, absolutely. I'm assuming it's going to be either in China or Europe, but they have no spots, not a single inch at the Tesla factory here in Fremont. They will not be able to build Model Y or the pickup truck unless they build a new factory. Let's see. Tesla Semi might see a faster ROI than other vehicles, says Deviant Technologies. This might explain why they went ahead and revealed it so soon after Model 3 rollout. Yes, it probably will, but don't forget, they have to build the mega charger infrastructure. That's in addition of doing the semi-truck. Don't forget that they won't be selling them as many, as 20,000 a month as they would with Model 3. So it's a smaller production. They will have to train their technicians and have a separate service centers where the damn thing can fit if they need to be serviced. They need to have a separate towing service, or at least a contract with the towing service that can tow those cars when they break down. They're also going to have to update them, consistently write new software, consistently upgrade their technology. They have to have a support there. They have to have training. They have to have a sales force, and it's all specific for that industry. And of course, they're going to have to come up with newer and newer versions, because there will be a demand on sleeper trucks where truckers can actually sleep in the car overnight, which they don't have an option right now. Different sizes, different ranges, and so forth. I'm just saying they've just kind of gotten themselves into this industry, which they've entered, but there's a lot more that they're going to have to do to support and sustain that. And that's where ROI is going to get really hurt in the beginning as you're doing R&D and early services and installations of mega chargers and so forth. So I think that won't be a moot point for a while. Let's see. You guys are talking about the former GM of Ford. I'm totally done with that. To be honest with you, I don't know why we're spending so much time on this guy. He is bad news. Bad track record, no position to advise us on what to do with the future of electric cars or technologies. Donald Noel in the chat room says big car companies build cars and trucks they can sell and make money. EV cars are not big sellers and not profitable to big car companies. If they switch from ICE to EV only, they would go broke. Well, actually, a lot of them are committing to electrifying their fleets, as they're calling it, which means, you know, hybrids and electric cars. I think they do see the light at the end of the tunnel, because don't forget also a lot of governments are now moving to banning sales of gas cars altogether by 2030 to 2040. So that's about a decade away. So they need to start gearing up. Also, they see Tesla do very well. Don't forget, Tesla is beating the crap out of Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, Lexus, and all of them in the luxury market. I believe Model S is selling, more Model S are sold than like Mercedes-Benz and S-Class and 7 Series and Panameras all together. So they see what happened with them in the luxury market. Now Tesla is coming to their, you know, let's say mid-size sedan or mid 35 to 50,000 priced cars, and they're afraid that they're going to get their asses kicked as well. So no, they kind of have to move there now, and they're behind. So I think they don't have that much more time to wait, and they have to move into electric car market, at least with one model, and just to get their technologies. Most importantly, to hire the talent. Remember, I was talking earlier how there's only so many talented people, and I don't mean talented like, you know, artists. I mean people who know how to do their crap, you know, people who know how to do battery technology, how to write software for self-driving cars, how to create chips with GPUs that are targeting self-driving autonomous car technology. So there's only so many of those people, and if you don't hire them now, everybody else will, and you'll end up with nobody really who can do a good job. Ari says Bob Potts is a climate change denier. Yes, he is. On Real Time with Bill Maher said 97% of climate scientists said climate change is human caused, and Potts says that it is not true. So, you know, I got to tell you guys, and you might be a little bit surprised. Now, I am actually have a problem how climate change scientists, and I don't mean to open a whole can of worms here, even though I do believe, and I think it's kind of obvious, that we need to take care of our environment, and we are polluting it, and cars is one of the main reasons. I'm totally behind that idea. I just don't like how climate scientists, and by the way, that's a very vague term. I think we really expanded the definition of what scientist is with climate science there. I think a lot of them have done a really poor job on presenting it to a lot of us. Even though they might be right. Okay, but the data, the way sometimes they come out with some studies and then it looks like they massage the data and it really shouldn't be done that way. And then it's easy to kind of dispute them on the other side. I don't like that. I also don't like the fact that they have changed their minds a few times, because they said first it was the cars, then they said it was cows, then they said it's the plants that grow in a Pacific Ocean somewhere. There are a lot of things that they've been inconsistent on. I don't like that. They need to get very consistent. They need to get their facts straight and charts straight. I don't want to hear about charts that have been altered or manipulated. They need to be raw data, and they need to emphasize it. Again, I don't want to get into that discussion too much because it's a whole new can of worms. Now, again, I'm not defending Bob Potts at all. You know, there's a climate change for sure. We need to take care of it. I'm just saying that I think our climate scientists have not done a good job putting their case together, is what I'm saying. I think they should do a better job. Anton says, Alex, you've fallen to anti-climate propaganda. The data is in and clear. No. Listen, again, I'm not denying climate change. I believe in it. Be very clear about that. I'm saying that the climate, we have to prove it to the rest of the world, right? There are deniers, and there are people who don't give a crap, to be honest with you. You have to have a very specific, you have to have a PR department for climate change, okay? And, you know, even Al Gore, who has been kind of our PR department, has not done that good of a job convincing the rest of the world, okay? And I'm just telling you what I see around me. It's not even about my opinion. I'm telling you that the fact that they even call it the global warming in the first place was a mistake, as you know, because it is about climate change and it is a better name. So they didn't do a good PR job there, because people said, oh, coldest winter ever in New York City. Look at all the snow. You guys are full of crap. So that was a bad name. They can't even come up with a good name for it. So you have to admit that did not advance our cause. But at the same time, they have changed their minds a few times about what is the main contributor to the pollution. Now, that's not to deny there is no pollution and it's man-made, but they need to also get their story straight there. I believe they will. They just haven't done a good job yet. That's what I'm saying. So please don't put me in the category of climate deniers. And I'm not really that easily swayed by propaganda, but my job just with, here is to look at both sides. And if there's one side that maybe doesn't have all the facts straight, to call them out. This is why you don't see me being a Tesla fanboy, because they got their own crap that they need to figure out. There's all criticism there. As much as I love their cars, I love Elon Musk and what he stands for, there are some problems with Tesla. Same thing with climate change. I think if anything, I can call you out on saying, hey, you're taking everything they say at their word without maybe really looking at some faults in their message delivery, or some of the facts that they're putting together are not well put together. They're still facts. I'm just saying we need to do a better job to present that. Ari says, they do not change their minds. They find new evidence and discover new things. That is what science does, rather than just believing something regardless from then on. I agree. I'm all for discovering new things. But what I'm saying is, again, this is not about the facts. This is about how you sell it to the public. Because public is not sitting there and saying, wow, how can I find out about climate change? It really, really matters to me. Most people just trying to survive paycheck to paycheck. People trying to raise kids, deal with their health problems. Climate change is not on their minds. So in order for us to sell the idea that we have to do something about it, we have to do a very good job convincing them of that. And what I'm saying is, when scientists, I understand they come up with new facts all the time, but they've advanced their agenda by pointing into different direction a few times in the last decade. And that makes those people who don't care about it, or climate change deniers, say, see, you don't know what you're talking about. Global warming, why is it so cold outside? Like, there are facts, and there's a way to sell those facts. I'm not denying the facts. I'm just saying that the way we're selling these facts, we're not doing a good job. That's all I'm saying. Jan says, Alex, I don't care about climate scientists, but I care about NASA meteorological models. And they say if ocean will be hotter, then Gulf Stream will be stopped and Europe go to freeze. Guys, I don't know, like, I feel I'm repeating myself. I believe those scientists, and I believe NASA scientists. I'm a science kind of guy. I'm a fact-based kind of guy. But there's science, and there's a way how to sell it and present it to the rest of the world. We got the science. Good. We are not doing a good job selling it to the rest of the world. You have to separate those two. That's what I'm trying to say. There you go. Steve in the chat room says, scientists have a history of not communicating very well with the public. My dad is a scientist. He's actually international recognized scientist in geology and artificial intelligence. And I gotta tell you, I agree. He's a good scientist, but he's very bad at selling his views and his science to other people. And I think that's a problem. And we gotta help them. We gotta put together something where we can easily convince them. Because right now, we are not doing that good of a job. Evidence has shown, says Ari, that carbon levels are related to temperature changes. They have evidence from over 3,000 years ago, follow each other like a mirror. Okay, when you guys talking about 3,000 years ago, again, I would like to know how that data was obtained, because the way we get data right now about climate with all of the types of sensors is much more precise than what we can say was 3,000 years ago, and the methods are different. There's less evidence, right? So that's what I'm saying. If we're taking the last 30 years as our measuring stick of what's happening, it is almost impossible to also take 30-year or even 40-year range 3,000 years ago and see how the weather was behaving. That's what I'm saying. We just, science or no science, there's some evidence that we don't have. So we need to use other methods to figure out what's going on, and most importantly, to calculate it and bring it to other people. Science is not this democracy, it is science, I absolutely believe. Unfortunately, science doesn't have a good PR department. That is my entire point. It is science, says Ari, carbon levels cause an increase in temperature. Agreed. Also, Ari says, half of the time what the scientists try to present gets edited by the establishment and politics. Well, we need to do a better job because we do control a lot of it, including the internet. Deviant Technologies agrees with me, says global warming is a terrible term for climate change, leads deniers to point to extreme winters as fuel for their... This is exactly what I'm saying. Climate change is real, but we got to call it better and do a better job selling it. Yes, I am talking about the managing from science community to everybody, everyday person. Deviant Technologies gets it, guys. Alan says, anytime you present an idea that doesn't fit into someone's map, a lot of people take a while to even understand what is being asserted, let alone agree with it. Yeah, in this case, most people don't care. They have other problems. They have other everyday problems they need to worry about it. And so climate change is just not on their minds. And we have to convince them first that this is something they should at least look into. And then once they do, we need to have a better job and better PR strategy on how to convince them. Let's see. Ari says, I did not say carbon is the only reason. Next time read, I said it is a reason. I'm sure it's not to me because I don't think I reacted that way. Eco Kids says, go and watch Before the Flood and this will explain climate change. No, I don't need to have climate change explained to me. I just have some questions which I'm allowed to have. I believe we should have critical thinking and it's all about asking questions. So some of the methods that they employ are I'd like to know more about, so that's why I have questions. And again, it's mainly about how we communicating this message to the rest of the world. Tanzanable says the problem with climate scientists is that so many of their predictions were wrong and they have lost credibility. People just don't believe them anymore. You know, to be honest with you, there's a little bit of truth to that because, for example, they can't even predict the weather a freaking day ahead, right? Because when people think climate scientists, they believe it's the same people who predict the weather. Whether or not it's true, it doesn't matter because that's what people think. And when our climate scientists who predict the weather for tomorrow are wrong all the time, just the other day, we had a sunny day. It's a 100% chance of rain tomorrow. It was a sunny day tomorrow, that next day as well. They can't do that crap if they want people to listen to them on a bigger level. Agreed? Eco Kid says Before the Flood. Everybody watch Before the Flood. Alan says scientists can do YouTube videos too and get around the establishment. Absolutely. I don't think many of them would though. Thomas Miner, if you're trolling, I'm going to ban you just in 1 second if you say anything else like that. So please don't. Okay, you guys are having your own discussion. Excellent. I got you guys fighting between each other, not with me. All right. Hey, listen, guys, by the way, this is a good conversation. I don't have to agree with all of you, and all of you don't need to agree with me. But as part of this community, I think having a discussion is a good thing. Can we all agree? Type yes in the chat room right now if you agree that just having a conversation within our community is a good thing and maybe trying to do a good job and presenting it to the rest of the world. Can we all agree on that? I just want everybody to agree on that. Alex, any news on new battery technology? Asking us Fabio. All right, we're back to electric cars. Yes, I mean, there's always news, right? They're working on solid state battery all the time. All the kinds of car manufacturers are announcing. All right, I see a lot of yeses too. Agreeing on having a civil conversation. Absolutely. If you haven't typed the yes, please say yes to having a civil discussion and understanding that we might have different opinion about climate change and strategies on bringing it to the masses as a community. But yeah, I mean, you know, basically every time there's news about the anything electric car related, definitely the battery technology, which is moving pretty fast forward, you'll always find in this channel. So if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do that. Also click the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything moving forward. But most importantly, become a part of this awesome community. This is what this channel, I think, is all about, is the community. Eco Kids, I think we understand your point. I already said it. You don't have to do it anymore. Watch the film Before the Flood. Let's see. These science problems were documented long ago by Carl Sagan. I don't know who he is, so I can't really attend to that. But you know, you guys have to admit that scientists, they make mistakes as well, right? And this is part of being a scientist. You make a mistake, you figure things out, you move forward. I guess maybe the fact that they've basically went out and say something as soon as they thought that was correct and they had to change it. I mean, just even about eggs, you know? If you're over 40, like me, you would probably know that throughout our lifetime, the eggs were good, bad, like 100 times. And they still can't figure it out. Are they good? Are they bad? You know, same thing with climate change. But this time, you know, we got to figure it out at some point and maybe keep our mouth shut at some, you know, if we're not 100% sure. Maybe run a second study. You know, everybody tries to say, oh, the new study is so exciting. Well, you know, just because it's new, that means it has the least chances of being proven over the years. Maybe we should slow down there. Let's see. I scroll through a lot of humans. Q-Tip Shark says humans add to it is just how much is the argument, which is hard to measure, especially with their whether having a personality. And I think that is actually a very good point. Thank you for that, because I don't think anybody, and even a lot of Republicans at this point, admit that the climate change is a problem, and a lot of it is man-made. The problem is how much of it is man-made, right? Because there are also evidence of the weather changes up and down throughout the many thousands of years before, and we're right now been only keeping real close track of it for, let's say, 100 years tops, but really, like really precisely, the last 30 years. So can we apply that small chunk of data and say, well, this never happened before? That's a question. I'm just asking one of those questions where I think we should discuss. PB78234, haven't seen you participate, so thank you for jumping in. So he says, no, you must believe and pay for any bogus scientific theory put forth, or you hate the planet, children and baby animals, and so forth. Now, I do have to say that I agree maybe that, listen, if you're a scientist and you put out something that was proven wrong or not fully tested, you have to take a hit, and you also have to understand that you kind of put the credibility of all the scientists in your area just a little bit down. I hope we can agree on that. Yes, it would even be a good show to cover the nitty-gritty of climate change. Go for it, says Steve. You know what? I was thinking about it. I'm going to have a little bit of time because I really want to do a good job and do a lot of research. I will do it one day, but I want to make sure it's like really both sides presented, and I really need to dig into some data. Solid state batteries would seriously change everything, says Nigel. They absolutely will. I mean, first of all, they're much higher density. They don't get affected by the weather as much. They don't have as much resistance, so you can pump that energy much faster into them. And it looks like that's where things are going. But at some point, let's remember, guys, let me put a video on just so we can watch another Model 3 video. How about that? Or Nissan Leaf video, either way. Where was I? Oh yeah. You know, at some point we're gonna have to stop playing the game of the long range, right? Because once, let's say, our cars reach 1,000 miles per range, I think at that time we can just stop, right? Like with gas cars, no one's improving them to 1,000 miles in range because you don't need it. So once there's enough infrastructure, and once most of our homes and businesses have the charging infrastructure and it's fast, I think that the battery range will no longer matter. As a matter of fact, I think the battery range will be at 500, 600, 700 miles pretty soon, in another year or two. So it's just going to be a matter of the batteries being able to charge really fast. After that, I think the game's going to be over. I think at that point, the improvements are going to be very minor. That technology, just like any new technology, will reach a certain level out, and then it's just going to be slow improvement, kind of maintenance. But in the next 5 years, it's going to be very exciting, guys. Very exciting. Yes, we're here for discussion, not the argument, says Arvid. Absolutely agree. Deviant Technology says scientists can't make accurate predictions on a subject which keeps getting tampered with by 5 billion polluters. Interesting point. let's see. Ooh, you guys type fast. Ari says, very simple. The Model Y is to the 3, like the X is to the S. I don't know. I think Model X had a lot of new things that Model S didn't have, including the new hardware, I believe, including the doors and both sets of doors, the wing ones and the self-open. So that one had a lot of new technology going in there. But I hear you, but I think it's going to be easier for the Model Y to be kind of built on top of Model 3 versus Model X on top of Model S. Ulysses says, Alex, I have a question. Do you know if the Model 3 is about the same size as the new Honda Civic, for example, like 16 or 17 and the inside and out? Okay, this is something that you can easily Google, so I can't do it right now, but I think by the time the show over is, you're probably going to be able to Google it easily and have your a question answered. I'm just trying to switch to a different video, so if we're talking about Model 3. But in my personal opinion, just kind of remembering, what are you comparing to Honda Civic? Yeah, I think Model 3 is a little bit bigger, definitely inside, but in the overall dimensions are a little bigger. Though, let me know why you're comparing to Honda Civic. I don't, you know, it's a weird comparison. Tony in the chat room, who I thought actually fell asleep because I haven't heard from him in a while, but welcome back, Tony. Yes, and we're able to, and we were also told that tomatoes were vegetables, and years later we're told they are fruit. Things that make you say, Yes, and remember how we had an extra planet that we don't know? What is it, Pluto or Saturn? There was a planet. There was a planet that we always thought was a planet until our scientists who were saying it was a planet said, you know what? It's not a planet. We're just kidding. It's more like a lot of stuff flying around. That's, I mean, and I understand why. I mean, I understand why they said it. And they said it because they have more data now. They can fly stuff around it and observe it better. They have better technology. I understand. They've corrected themselves. And kudos to them for that. I'm just saying, selling it to a guy who lives on a small salary, you know, week by week, trying to provide for the kids, and, you know, don't always, you know, maybe even have a high, you know, college education, is not going to care about this. And when it does, you know, all of this going back and forth is going to tell them that, hey, these guys don't know what they're talking about. They change their minds all the time. Planet, not planet, eggs, good, bad, and what, tomatoes or vegetables, not, you know what I mean? So I'm just saying, again, this is not a question of science. This is a question of PR. I don't know how many times I can say it. Are you guys tired of this video? I'm not. I'm going to be honest with you. I love watching Model 3 drive around. Mark Cat Jack says, fishing the depths of the earth of the last atom of lithium for batteries will also cause a lot of environmental problems. We're looking at the law of unintended consequences. Well, I believe that even lithium ion batteries are not that easy to recycle. You can still recycle them by breaking them down into their, I believe, 4 or 5 components. And I think the technology for that will also move forward. There will be a lot of industries built around the electric car industry, and I think recycling is going to be, recycling of batteries is going to be one of them. But you're right, it is a concern that needs to be solved at some point. Let's see. Fanto L in the chat room says 2 hours and running, must have energizers or batteries. Oh really? Are we? Oh man, we are at 2 hours. I thought I was gonna lose my voice by noon, an hour ago. I'm sure it's gonna happen sooner or later, but yeah. And you know what? I also did have to go to the bathroom even once. So, and yeah, my little steamer here is still kicking ass, so we're good. Ari says that, by the way, Ari is like the biggest participant today. Not that it's a competition, but yeah, you are on and on. You're on today, man. The planet thing has to do how you classify something as a planet, not just another ice ball. There are a lot of smaller things near Pluto that are like it that we do not count. No, Ari, here's the thing. This is not a scientific conversation. I mean, I'm willing to go with whatever the latest discovery is. Again, science is getting better, especially when they're talking about explanation of space. You know, those things are kind of far away, and we're getting better and better at getting closer to them, or at least recognizing what the hell's going on there. So I'm all good with them saying and updating science. What I'm saying as a PR, it's a nightmare. You know, that's all I'm saying. Anton says Pluto's effect on the world didn't change with the name, neither did global warming when it started to get called climate change. Well, yeah, but no, names are important. Names is what makes people vote for or against the climate change fixes, which they have voted against. You know, whether you love Trump or hate, the country voted against the climate change because we didn't do a good job selling it on them. We didn't do a good job selling it how important it is, and then we didn't do a good job selling it that it is a problem that needs to be solved right now. And that's why we're the only country here in the United States, they're not part of the Paris Agreement. Again, we got to do a better job, guys. It's not a science conversation. Tanzanable says, I agree, it's all about the batteries. The battery is the key to the future of electric vehicles. Partially agree. I think it's also about autonomous driving and the technology. And we can store 500 miles of energy in a small, light, and affordable battery. Then EVs will soar. But yeah, it is #1 goal to fix right now, because a lot of people who are thinking about switching to electric cars but don't quite want to do that, their biggest problem is the battery, where to charge, and so forth and so forth. So this is where, you know, cars like Kia Niro EV now having a decent range for people not to worry is going to be, again, a major player in this industry as well, just like the Jaguar I-Pace, again, coming out at the end of this year. Very excited. How many Model 3s produced these last weeks? Again, we just talked to Says Alexis in the chat room. It should be anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500, probably closer to 1,500. So multiply that by however many weeks you wanna talk about. Tony says, I've been a spectator in discussion today. Sorry, friend. That's okay, man. It's perfectly fine to enjoy it and then just watch us battle it out. Okay, I'm just gonna subside this discussion about the planets, because I think we've gone way far, literally, of the discussion topic. How come Nigel says, how come we can talk about Pluto but not Donald Trump? Well, because we really shouldn't be talking about Pluto anyway. I think we kind of, just like I said, went a little too far. It's just because people get really insane when they talk about politics, and they don't get as insane when they talk about Pluto. That's all I'm saying. I just don't want a bloodbath fight on this here. I'm all about uniting the community, not starting a fight, because there are, you know, believe it or not, there are a lot of Trump voters or supporters that also support electric cars and are excited about technology, and that's just what I want us to unite here, rather than divide us with politics or other things, or even Pluto. So I'm about this. That's all I'm saying. Eco Kid says that America is poor on climate change. China and India ahead. Not sure about India, but China is definitely has become a leader in terms of investment and in terms of being a voice in a Paris Agreement. Absolutely. That's unfortunate, but that's true. I wish everybody, I think it's a planet's problem, not a politics or a country problem. Let's see. Yeah, Marquette Jack is continuing the conversation about, you know, the fact that, you know, minerals for the solar panels and batteries still need to be extracted. There are, you know, obvious issues with that. Yes, we'll have to continue figuring those out, but those seem to be cleaner. And they seem to not be found in countries that hate us. That's another thing that I would say is a plus. Ari says, I hate to say, but the PR problem is only because of the people. Well, yeah, every problem is because of the people. Oh, my chair just went down. Every problem is because of the people, but we got to communicate, and we'll communicate differently. So we just got to do a better job communicating with the rest of the world about this. Let's see. Tony says, solid battery predictions. What company might move into production first? That's a good question, because I think companies who's going to get there first is not telling us that they're actually making progress. That's what I think. Looks like Fisker has patented a solid state technology, but they're saying they're 5 years away. That's the only one that's kind of out there that's made the most of the headlines. Why don't I have a Fisker picture? I really should. Yeah, I should have one, but I don't. Sorry. I'll just put up another one. But we go on Model X from my photo shoot at the lake here for my Green is Beautiful project. Love the Jag photo, says Nigel. So do I. I can't wait to see that car in person. Eco Kids says America needs to lead the rest of the world. Well, that's just not happening right now, unfortunately. Yeah, but we don't need to. We would prefer to, but yeah. Jose de la Cruz says lease deals for 2018 Nissan Leafs are out. What do you think of them? S, SV, SI, reasonable lease. Yeah, well, okay, so first of all, lease, this is another conversation, obviously, and I have videos about that, but I prefer lease. I believe lease is a better financial decision for most people who are looking to get a new car and keep it for a few years, and don't drive more than like 15 to 20,000 miles a year, which I think most people fall into that category. So yes to the lease in general as a concept. Saves you money. Have another video about it. Check it out. I think if you're looking to buy an electric car right now, you want to spend less than $30,000. You're not looking to take that car long trips, and just want a kind of a daily commuter for yourself. And you want to save money on gas. 2018 Nissan Leaf is a great deal, and you can, I think, you can put like $4,000 down, and your monthly payment is going to be like $250 dollars. Very affordable. But again, the thing is, I'm always careful when I recommend things to you guys, because everybody's got their own situation, their own budget, their own timeline on when they want to buy a new car versus maybe buying a new house or paying for their college education. Whether or not, I don't know what this is, whether or not they want to buy it because they want to support green energy, or because they want a technology. It's just a lot, Do you have a job that has a charger there? Do you have a charger at home? Like just so many different things. It's hard for me to recommend something for general purpose. This is why I want to just kind of bring the pros and cons on everything that's going on and have you guys make one decision, because nobody knows about your lives than you, right? As far as the models between the Nissan Leaf, these are all options. These are very personal. Whatever you want. You want more power? You want the e-pedal thing? It's up to you to decide. So sorry, I don't want to answer this question, because my answer would probably be wrong, because I don't know your particular situation. Nigel, cut it out, man. Cut it out. Tesla P85D, Jaguar versus Byton, price, range, and tech. Well, one thing Jag's got over Byton is the fact it's in production this year, and Byton has not even built its first factory yet. So Byton is kind of a different category, and I don't know where Jag is going to be by the time Byton releases their car, which they're saying 2020, 2021. I mean, I love Byton. I loved it. I mean, you guys see me covering it at CES. I think if they can bring it to production, it's going to be an amazing car. Love it. The range, I think Jag is going to be around 300, and the Byton is around 300. Byton's tech is amazing. I mean, just with the gesture control, the facial recognition instead of the fob. They have self-driving features, of course. I mean, I'm going to go with Byton. Just whole big screen. I'm going to go with Byton, but just like I said, we're comparing something that's going to be here in 3-4 years versus something that's here this year pretty much, or within a year. So it's a tough comparison. And also Byton is going to be half the price. If they can pull that off, game over. Marquette Jack says, I put my G down on a Tesla in October. I drank the Kool-Aid. I'm just not Pollyanna about electric cars being the big fix. Yeah, well, I mean, in bigger cities, the pollution does come from cars. There's no question about it. So it is a fix for large cities like LA, a lot of cities in Asia and in India. So I think it's a fix at least for those. And it is a big problem. In fact, tens of millions of people are affected by it. Lung problems and any kind of breathing problems. So that will help. Let's see. Ari says the rest of my comment was my people issue was not with the PR people themselves, but the people population who listen to it and do not understand how science works. Well, okay, just to be fair, it's not everyone's job to understand how science works. It is the scientists' jobs to explain it to us and dumb it down. Because, for example, I myself am not smart enough to understand all the scientists and science behind it. I need them to convince me of their credibility, first of all, and also break it down to me so I can understand. Because, I can't sit here, and a lot of people can't sit here and research this for their general knowledge and look at the charts and data for days and days and days. It needs to be summarized for us in a very good way, and they need to have credibility. I guess that would be my comment on that. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying. My cat Jack says, have you ever examined the Mitsubishi electric car? I have not. We saw one on the road in Philadelphia last week. I don't really look at Mitsubishi as a car maker that produces anything significant. So until they do, and they haven't had really anything in the news. I did not see them being at CES. I don't see any announcements coming out of them. So to them, to me, they don't really exist right now. To be honest, I'm just being honest. Nigel says, if you pay for the car and keep it for more than 5 years, I can't see how leasing of the car makes sense. It does not. As a matter of fact, I think beyond almost 3 years, maybe 4 years max, it does not make sense. That's why I said a lease makes more sense when you want to get a new car, keep it for 3 or 4 years, and you don't go over 17, 18, 20,000 miles a year. That's kind of a requirement. If you don't fall into that category, do not lease. Let's say Alan says type @E and then it pops up E for electric. Alan, that only works if you're on a computer. I know when I try to talk to people in the chat on my phone, you unfortunately have to type the whole thing out. Unless there's a trick on your phone where you can type, you know, @ and you type someone else's who's in the chat name and it just populates it for you. I don't know that trick. Jaguar will be 220 miles. Yeah, okay, you might be right, but I think they're gonna have a second version that's closer to 300 miles. But yeah, the base will be around 200 miles. That's correct. Alan says Elon has a lot of technology that is going to be tough to make work coherently. Yeah, and you know they gotta pull it off. Biden just came on the scene. They're promising and demonstrating a lot, which is exciting. But somebody asked me to compare them, so I'm comparing a concept to a car that's almost in production. So, you know. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they're going to have to pull off. But at the same time, I like the fact that they're setting, you know, another sort of high standard for the industry. I like that. I love the gesture control thing here. He says, Biden's big screen is probably going to be too costly and problematic. I don't know. I mean, the technology price for that has been going down. So that screen may just be very affordable, you know. Fabio says 225 for Jag. Ari says you don't have to understand the science itself, but how it works. It is called a basic elementary education. Yeah, but I think there's stuff in between, right? Like I want to understand the because the climate science works on the prediction and data models, right? So and the way you create those models is actually very important on what you're going to end up with. And I would like to know how those models are created, because sometimes what models do is they take a chunk of data and they don't just put in a model, right? Because a lot of it is just really raw data. It's hard to create a model out of it. So they start massaging it. Of course, one of the easiest ways that we've learned in school how to massage the data is to take out like 10% of both ends on the extremes to work with the more bulkier, more common data, right? Also, you have to adjust for example, do you adjust its data, the climate data, to the average temperature in a given year, so the temperature that you're working with is within what the weather was like that particular year, so the comparison is more correct? Or do you compare raw data and then your data is a little bit more, you know, spiky? I mean, I don't want to get into all. I'm just saying that the way you build those models is important, and it does, you know, take a scientist, and it's a bit tough to understand sometimes how they're created, but that is where mistakes can be made. Let's see. Mitsubishi have an alliance with Nissan Renault wherever that goes. Steve says, yeah, I hope they do, because they gotta catch up. Yeah, the typing @E sign and then you know, my name gets displayed, or anyone's name gets displayed. Shortcut works on the YouTube client, which is not this phone. Moreland, I'm sorry, I'm not really sure if I'm reading your username correctly. He says, or she says, you can write off your lease on your taxes if you use your car to take trips to car shows, business meetups, and YouTube vlogs. And me, myself, yeah, no, I'm aware how I can write it off. Actually, it's more tricky than that sometimes. And you actually don't have to lease the car to be able to write it off. You can actually write off a mileage. And again, I'm not a CPA, so I'm not giving any kind of financial advice. I'm just saying lease or purchase, you can still find a ways to write it off. Also, even if you're leasing a car and it's the only car in your family for you, it makes it a little different. So check with your CPA. I'm just saying it's not that simple sometimes. And I had a CPA who did it wrong for me for years until I finally hired my latest one and he fixed that for me. Yeah, Alexa says, big screen expensive. Did you see all the sizes of the TVs nowadays? So yeah, I think the technology is moving forward. Yes, Tony is reminding me I probably have done, what, 2 hours and 20 minutes of the show without asking you guys to please hit that like, thumbs up button, because it helps the video do well, and appreciate that, guys. You know, and even if you hate the show and you've still been watching for over 2 hours, just at this point, I think you can hit like sarcastic thumbs up, like, yeah, it's a good job, whatever. I'll take that. I'll take that. Sarcastic thumbs up. I'm good with that. Ben says, who will make it to us to a US market? Who will make it to the US market? Byton, Jaguar, or the Kia Kona SUV? Don't know about Kia Kona, but I know that this little number that I've been drooling over, Kia Niro will make it this year. Jaguar will make it by the end of the year. Byton is up in the air. They got to build the factory. They got to get the second round of financing. And they got to build the damn car. I'm talking about at least probably 3 more years if everything goes well. I think that's what it is. And don't forget, they're going to be building it in China. I don't know if they're going to be also selling it in China first and then bringing it to US. So that's an unknown fact. Oh, no, guys. Well, I appreciate the thumbs up in the chat room right here. But we mean it like in the outside of the screen. I like, and there's a thumbs up to rate the video, I guess. That's the thumbs up. Alan says he also sarcastically subscribed. I'll take that also. Thank you. I appreciate it. Renault are normally in Europe. I guess you're saying normal in Europe, but I think they have had their Zoe in India as well. I don't think Zoe is big in India. I just did a video about electric cars in India, and I don't think Renault is in India yet. Tough market to enter. It's a tough sell in India because of infrastructure and some of their laws and stuff like that. I have another video about it, so please check it out. All right, so once again, I just wanted to thank those Patreons of mine who contribute to the show. If you would like to become one, the link is down below. I appreciate it. Helps the show to move forward. And also, I put together approximately once a week exclusive content, behind the scene footage and so forth. I'm working on one for today as well, so the new one should be up very shortly, within 24 to 48 hours. Let's see, what else did I miss? I think I've covered everything, guys. Listen, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It's been like 2 hours 23 minutes now, so I think we've set all the records at this point. It is a miracle that I have not lost my voice. Tensible says, is YouTube your full-time job? It does take me 40 to 60 hours per week to work on this and to produce all of it, but it's not. I don't make money on YouTube much. I don't, as you can see, there are no ads running in or anything. I do have a sponsor. So that takes care of some of my like camera expenses, equipment expenses. But as you know, every time I take a trip, like my Vegas trip was about $3,000 just to be there, and then I have to take PTO. But I do have a day job. I work for a Fortune 100 company. I'm a UX designer. So yeah, I have a full-time job, and then I have this as a full-time non-paying job. Yeah, so for those of you guys who are supporting me on Patreon, I'm hoping that this would be one of the ways how I can actually be able to make YouTube my full-time job, obviously be able to put so much more content for you guys, maybe even spin off another channel. So this is in the future would be very important for me to be supported, and that way also I think the Patreon community obviously has bigger access to me, more control. And I just literally went to the Patreon seminar that they had here at their headquarters in San Francisco. met all of their staff. They're super nice, and they've encouraged me to do more content there, which I'm planning to do, and more posts, and to get my Patreons more involved, I think. And let me know, guys, like, for example, what do you think would take you to become a Patreon of any channel, not just mine? Because you do have to pay your hard-earned money to the creator. What would you want instead? Would you want this sort of different types of videos, maybe like how-to videos? Do you want more about like my personal life and my personal vlog? Do you want to maybe be able to pick the topics for the Sunday show, or be, let me know. I'm kind of interested, because I want the Patreon to be a smaller community where you guys can control the conversation, you can control the content that I put together for you. And this is what I want to do. I want to do that for you. So let me know what would help, because I would love to cater it to those who literally will help me make a living on this. And that's a goal, because I can do much better job and spend much more time and travel more to cover everything for you guys, if I obviously can do it full time. Let's see. E4 Electric says, Deviant Technologies, thanks for the VChat today. It was fun to get everyone ideas. Absolutely. This is the first time I see you participating, I believe. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to maybe some of your comments on the videos, and maybe I've earned a subscriber today. Hopefully, you've been very helpful. I enjoy talking to you, just like everybody else here. I have not had to ban or remove a single comment today, and we've been on for almost 2.5 hours. I appreciate it, guys. Good conversation. Good conversation. And once again, don't forget to hit the thumbs up for the video on your way out. Again, thank you so much for those of you who contribute to the show, my Patreons. All right, guys, before I really lose my voice, thank you so much. I'm going to sign off, drink a lot of hot tea. I haven't eaten or peed, so that's something that needs to be taken care of as well. All right, guys, have a great Sunday. I had so much fun doing this. I'm going to see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time, as we do every day. And for those of you who want to hang out for a while, we're going to do it all over again next Sunday. All right, guys, see you then. And remember to stay charged.